At the residence of Count Schmille, Belle praises the tea she is drinking. She exclaims that it is incredibly delicious. The Count's daughter takes another delightful sip during their meeting. Her fiancé, Beeks Halls, expresses relief that she likes it after struggling to choose which leaves to bring. Suddenly, someone calls out cheerfully to Lord Beeks from nearby. Belle gently reassures Beeks that he really did not need to go to such trouble. Belle's younger sister, Belle Schmille, interrupts and clings excitedly to Beeks. Belle firmly asks Belle to step away from her fiancé. Beeks politely greets Lady Belle, noting that it has been a while since they last met. Belle complains loudly that she was feeling really lonely without him. Belle protests loudly, reminding everyone that Beeks will soon be her brother-in-law anyway. She playfully teases Belle, asking if she fears her fiancé might be stolen away again. Belle reassures her sister that Lord Beeks loves her far too much to leave. Still, Belle insists that she simply wants to deepen her relationship with him. Belle looks on in silence, harboring quiet suspicion. Belle recalls how her previous two fiancés both fell for Belle and abandoned her, leaving only Beeks behind. She holds on to hope because Beeks continues to love her unchangingly despite Belle's pressure. She remembers that few people in this kingdom possess magic. A sudden slip occurs as the teacup begins to wobble precariously. Belle chitters away, distracting Beeks while he suddenly notices the falling cup. Beeks gasps in shock as the tea spills. Belle watches closely, wondering if Belle is secretly using magic to sabotage things. Beeks rushes over in panic to check if Belle is okay. Belle cries out that her sister is being mean, leaving Belle completely bewildered. The commotion creates a sharp disturbance in the middle of the garden tea party. Count Schmille storms in angrily, demanding to know what Belle has done. Belle tries to explain that Erpol caused it, but her father refuses to listen to excuses. Belle realizes in despair that she is being blamed once again. She despairs as another incident gets pinned entirely on her. Beeks calls out nervously to her father to calm the tension. Belle sees her father and the servant siding completely with Belle as usual. She tells herself to stay composed instead of losing her temper. Everyone around her continues to favor her younger sister blindly. She sighs bitterly, knowing that dwelling on this pattern will only make her feel more miserable. Her father harshly barks at her to leave, calling her an eyesore. Belle stands isolated as the household turns their backs on her. Beeks awkwardly suggests wrapping up the meeting for the day. Belle softly agrees, defeated and ready to retreat. A maid delivers invitations from the royal palace addressed to the young ladies. Belle is stunned to read an invitation to the Crown Prince's consort candidate party. A few days pass as the impending royal event approaches. At the party, she observes that the distinguished young man in the garden is the Crown Prince. She continues watching silently from her seat. Across the garden, Belle remains right by his side. As Belle clings close to him, Maria reflects that her sister is the obvious match from their family. Suddenly, a young boy calls out to her from nearby. She turns around in surprise toward the voice. Her eyes widen as she looks down at the little visitor. Maria wonders to herself if he is really just a child. The boy greets her politely and asks if something is wrong. He asks if she has any interest in becoming the crown princess. Maria points out that several noble women over there already have fiancé. She admits the crown prince seems wonderful, however she already has a fiancé of her own. She simply figures those other women must think differently. The young boy excuses himself and asks for her name. He introduces himself directly as Reze. Maria gasps in sudden realization. She stares at him in complete bewilderment. She looks down at him in total disbelief. Maria wonders why he shares the crown prince's exact name. She then introduces herself as Belle Schmille. Reze beams, delighted that she is finally engaging with him properly. He warmly expresses his desire to speak with her more. Maria accepts gladly, though she finds his mature way of speaking quite surprising. She lets out a polite, nervous giggle. Maria asks if he has heard her story, admitting it caught her off guard too. Reze winks playfully, remarking that it sounds like a fascinating experience. Maria remarks that she had not intended to chat for so long. She compliments Lord Reze as a wonderful storyteller. He replies smoothly that it must be because she is such a good listener. An attendant interrupts their pleasant conversation to summon the crown prince. Reze turns back toward his attendant. Maria watches him in quiet awe. Reze prepares to take his leave. Reze thanks Belle and tells her he had a wonderful time. He hands her special paper, asking her to reach out if her engagement ever breaks. Maria gazes down at the mysterious paper in her hands. She marvels at the peculiar letter in her hands. Then she thanks him warmly for spent time. Reze smiles brightly and wishes her happiness. Watching him depart, Maria realizes how long it has been since she smiled this genuinely. She reflects fondly on her brief conversation with Lord Reze. Belle mocks her for talking to a mere child instead of the crown prince. Maria explains she only went because she was summoned, and when she asks about her sister's meeting, Belle boastfully declares that the crown prince will surely choose her. Maria listens quietly as her sister continues to brag. Maria acknowledges her sister's bold confidence. Belle giggles in response to her remark. She then asks if Maria feels upset by the situation. Maria calmly asks what she should be upset about regarding the prince's decision. Maria claims she is unbothered because she is Beeks, but Belle calls her a sore loser. Belle boasts that Maria could never measure up to her, though giving up early is bad. She adds that she has already informed their father about the whole matter. Maria turns shocked and asks her sister what she told him. Belle claims she told their father that Maria played with a child and disrespected the crown prince. Maria objects that the crown prince was actually present during that time. She remembers him telling his attendant to leave him alone and care for the child. However, her defense falls on deaf ears. Belle insists the crown prince addressed her directly and asks if Maria saw it. Suddenly, her father shouts Maria's name in rage. She gasps in sudden terror. Maria turns around in panic as her father approaches her. Her father announces that he heard Belle's account and will not tolerate a troublemaker. Maria asks what he means, but he replies that disrespecting the crown prince is unforgivable. Maria desperately cries out to her father as she gets thrown out. A maid apologizes to Maria and bids her farewell as she leaves. Maria begs her father to hear her side, but he cuts her off abruptly. He coldly declares that she is no longer his daughter. He commands her never to return to the Schmille family again. Maria stands stunned in absolute despair over her exile. Maria meets with Beeks and stammers about how sudden everything happened. She tells him he is the only person she can rely on now. Beeks nods calmly, pretending to sympathize with her plight. When Beeks hands her a bag of money, Maria gasps in confusion. She insists that she does not want his money. Beeks sharply cuts her off and orders her to stop. Beeks coldly reveals that every single word he ever said to her was a lie. He admits he was only obeying Belle and mocked Maria's foolish happiness. Halls then coldly informs her that he is breaking off their engagement as compensation for her entertaining him, offering her money. He declares that he will be happy with Belle before bidding her farewell. As he departs, she lets out a breathless sigh of disbelief. Maria stands alone in shock, struggling to process the betrayal. She looks down at a paper handed to her in secret. Reeling from the revelation, she laments that Halls has betrayed her too. She wonders in despair whom she can possibly trust anymore. A sympathetic knight approaches Maria in secret. A knight introduces himself as one of Lord Beeks's men who overheard everything. He offers her directions to an inn run by his parents. He assures her that his family will be able to help. Maria holds the paper tightly as the knight rushes off. She gazes into the night sky, weighing her options. Maria decides to trust the stranger despite her doubts. She steels her resolve to act. It would be a waste to miss such an opportunity. Maria arrives at the bustling town inn. Sheila reacts with anger at how Maria was treated, telling her to abandon such a family. Sheila listens compassionately as Maria shares her story. Maria thanks her for listening and admits she does not know what to do next. Sheila reassures her that being worried is completely natural. She then asks for the girl's name, to which she replies that she is Maria Belle. Sheila offers Maria Belle a job at the inn. Surprised, Maria Belle asks if she is sure, and Sheila offers room, board, and a salary. Sheila notes that commoner life will be tough but better than being alone. Sheila holds Maria's hands warmly to comfort her. Sheila adds that Maria's cute face makes her ideal as a receptionist, leaving her speechless. Maria looks up in tearful gratitude. Maria expresses her deep gratitude with tears in her eyes. Sheila urges her not to cry and tells her to rest for the day. Later in her room, Maria reflects on writing a letter she never anticipated. She addresses Lord Riley in her writing, determined to fulfill her promise. In her message, she formally fulfills her promise to inform him, clarifying that her engagement was annulled rather than simply dissolved, wishing his future fiancé is wonderful and sending her warmest regards. She hopes he does not get caught up with a strange fiancé like herself. She gasps in surprise as the letter suddenly vanishes into thin air. She wonders if Lord Riley might actually be the son of an amazing magician. Meanwhile, high above the palace, the full moon rests quietly over the royal estate. Inside his room, the young royal leans over his desk with a heavy sign. The crown prince in child form argues that he needed to evaluate his prospective princess objectively. He suddenly shouts that he cannot handle dealing with women any longer. Figo Minen questions whether transforming into a child was truly necessary for that. The crown prince points out that people lower their guard around children. Figo Minen notes how unusually long he spoke with one lady today, regretting that she had a fiancé. The crown prince praises her immense magic and comfort, leading Figo Minen to call them compatible. The crown prince asks how much longer they will keep up this charade. Figo Minen scolds him for treating the matter so casually. The prince simply repeats his complaint regardless. Figo Minen watches his master's antics with a light-hearted expression. The crown prince transforms back into his adult form before his attendant. Figo Minen remarks that interacting with him in his true form feels much easier. The crown prince curtly tells his body double to shut up. Suddenly, a glowing magical letter appears floating right between them. Figo Minen recognizes that the letter arrived from that girl. He warns his master that receiving an unknown letter could be dangerous. The crown prince calmly explains that he personally gave her that paper. He catches the magical paper and begins reading her message. The crown prince admits he never used to believe in destined partners. He gazes down thoughtfully, wondering if this truly could be fate. The crown prince firmly announces that his decision for crown princess has been made. He proclaims that his chosen bride is Maria Belle Schmille. Meanwhile, Maria fumes in disbelief that a single word from Belle caused all this mess. She carries her heavy suitcase along the stone pathway outside the mansion. Taking a moment, she lets out a heavy sigh of exhaustion. She wonders if Beeks might be able to help fix things. Her footsteps click quietly as she approaches a massive grand palace. Father clutches the official royal decree, staring down at it in disbelief. He flies into a rage, demanding to know the meaning of the sudden news. Belle nervously turns toward him, completely startled by his furious outburst. The shocked family reads over the decree naming Maria as the crown prince's bride. Belle examines the letter closely, struggling to process the prince's decision. Belle reads the declaration naming Maria as Prince Rayleigh's future bride. She insists her sister barely even spoke with His Highness. The prince must have confused her sister's name with her own. Turning to her father, she desperately asks if he agrees with her logic. Father agrees intensely, convinced that an error must have occurred. Father declares that he will inform the crown prince directly about the mistake. He intends to explain that Belle and Maria are entirely different people. Only Belle is truly fit to become the prince's bride, he insists. Complaining that Maria brings only trouble, he orders his men to fetch her immediately. His attendant promptly nods, accepting the count's orders without hesitation. Belle smirks secretly while putting on an innocent front. She wonders aloud where her banished sister could possibly be right now. Meanwhile at the inn, Sheila gasps in delight upon seeing Maria dressed in working clothes. She compliments Maria, remarking that a humble outfit suits her beautifully. Maria smiles sheepishly and reminds Sheila that they should begin their daily duties soon. Sheila chuckles, admitting she got carried away admiring Maria's dress. She immediately assigns her new duties without delay. Maria cheerfully agrees and prepares for her shift. Sheila claps her hands, prompting them to start working right away. Maria cleans and organizes the guest rooms with great care. She works diligently throughout the inn, carrying out every task required. By evening, she sets down her tools as her busy shift comes to an end. Maria wipes her brow, sighing softly about how demanding inn work truly is. Overjoyed by a hearty meal, Maria digs in while Sheila encourages her to eat up. A visitor arrives at the inn, bringing warm greetings into the room. An older man arrives home with fresh food and greets Maria warmly. Maria expresses her happiness and praises the delicious taste of the meal. He smiles warmly, asking if the food pleases her appetite. Maria suddenly recognizes the man as the person who helped her earlier. They sit down together, exchanging relieved and friendly smiles. The man explains he was worried she might get lost or attacked along the way. He breathes a sigh of relief, seeing her completely unharmed. Maria reassures him that she arrived safely and thanks him for his care. She turns to thank a young man named Robert for introducing her to this cozy inn. Robert modestly shrugs it off, telling her it was no trouble at all. Meanwhile, local townsfolk chat over the morning newspaper, wondering if a major event has occurred. They note that the chosen bride remains unnamed because officials cannot reach her. Word spreads quickly that the new crown princess has finally been decided. Hearing the news, Maria wonders if someone other than Belle was selected. She gazes thoughtfully into the distance under the night sky. Meanwhile, Crown Prince Riley reads a formal letter at his desk. He frowns deeply at the audacious contents of the message. Father's letter insists that Riley should choose Belle as crown princess instead. Riley grips the paper tightly in annoyance. He glares at the written demand with frustration. Riley fumes over father attempting to dictate his marriage choices. He questions if the man has lost his mind by unilaterally offering Belle. Figo agrees that recommending his other daughter takes extreme nerve. Right then, Sonia requests entry from outside and receives permission to enter. Sonia reports that Maria was cast out of her home right after leaving the palace. Figo expresses shock at her sudden exile from the estate. She clarifies that Maria was banished merely for speaking with a child instead of greeting the prince. Figo cannot comprehend why her family would treat her so harshly over a misunderstanding. Sonia explains how father always favored Belle while mistreating Maria. She suspects that Belle might be controlling her family with charm magic. Figo asks if Belle shares his charm magic and Sonia confirms it. Riley clarifies why he dispatched Figo to the gathering earlier. Since Figo wields charm magic, any magic used by another guest would be ineffective. Sonia listens silently as the prince finishes explaining his rationale. Riley commands Sonia to track down Maria's current whereabouts immediately. Sonia confirms that Maria visited her former fiancé Beeks's estate. Riley grimaces at the mention of that unfaithful man. Sonia reassures the prince that she will continue gathering intel on her location. Sonia asks permission to strike Beeks during interrogation, which Riley promptly forbids. Riley trusts Sonia with the mission, and she accepts without hesitation. Riley considers his personal plans for the upcoming visit. Figo inquires about his master's next course of action. Riley reveals he intends to confront father personally about the letter. Figo senses that the prince is preparing a mischievous surprise for the noble. Riley smiles, impressed by how well Figo understands his intentions. Riley decides to visit disguised as a child, which Figo finds amusing. The prince eagerly looks forward to father's shocked reaction. Meanwhile, at Sheila's inn, Maria gets ready for her shift. She works attentively cleaning up the reception hall. Maria cheerfully reflects on how much she enjoys working at the warm inn. Suddenly, Sonia approaches the counter and addresses Maria by name. Sonia identifies herself as an attendant serving Crown Prince Riley. Maria stares back in utter astonishment. Still stunned, she asks the attendant what she needs from her. Sonia replies that they cannot speak about this matter out in the open. She apologizes for her forceful tone but insists on taking a moment of her time, leaving her startled. Sonia then leads the bewildered girl away through the streets. Soon they arrive before the Grand Royal Palace. Sonia explains that this is the Crown Prince's royal palace, shocking Maria. She reveals that His Highness is specifically looking for Maria Belle, making her gasp in disbelief. As Sonia urges her inside, Maria hesitantly asks if the prince truly has business with her. Sonia presents Lady Maria Belle upon entering the room. The standing attendant jumps in utter surprise at her sudden arrival. He sputters in shock over how Sonia could bring her in so casually. Maria nervously asks if the Crown Prince himself is coming out. The attendant confirms it with a hesitant response. He then panics and yells at her to wait. Maria bows respectfully, expressing that meeting His Royal Highness is a true honor. She looks up cautiously as a figure approaches her. Figo smiles and clarifies that he is not the actual prince, confusing Maria. The attendant invites her inside where His Highness awaits. Maria steps further into the grand audience room. She suddenly gasps in shock as she recognizes the man seated before her. The adult man sitting on the throne greets her with a warm smile. He expresses relief that she is safe and thanks her for sending the letter. Maria recognizes him as Lord Riley and marvels at meeting him again. However, she wonders in confusion why he is sitting in the Crown Prince's seat. Riley agrees while Figo remarks how confusing his changing forms must be for others. Riley rests his chin on his hand with a charming glint in his eye. Maria stares in stunned realization at his handsome adult visage. She gasps in disbelief as she realizes Riley is actually the Crown Prince himself. Riley explains that he specializes in transformation magic and was only in a child's form at the party due to special circumstances. He apologizes deeply for hiding his true self from her. Maria panics and apologizes in return for her former disrespect toward him. He tells her not to worry and asks if she understands why she was brought here. Maria ponders if the Crown Princess he is searching for could truly be her since he confided his secret magic to her. Riley waits patiently for her reaction with a warm look. He plainly confirms that she is indeed the one he chose. Maria cries out in complete astonishment at his declaration. Riley smiles and mentions how much fun he had talking with her back then. He leans closer to express how memorable their time together was. Maria gasps as she listens to his heart-stirring confession. She gazes at him in wide-eyed wonder, her heart fluttering. Riley stands close to Maria inside the grand hall as she processes everything. They share a gentle, intimate look as he welcomes her into his life. He directly proposes to her, asking her to be his wife. She looks up, her eyes wide with shock and emotion. She expresses how incredibly happy she feels, yet hesitates before stopping mid-sentence. Riley tilts his head, wondering what is holding her back. Maria explains that she has already resolved to live her life as a commoner. Riley realizes why she is dressed that way, telling her to forget that plan. Riley pauses and gently asks if her current lifestyle is truly that enjoyable. Maria reflects on being disowned by her family and betrayed by her former fiancé. She explains that someone still believed in her and offered her shelter despite everything. She adds that she wants to work hard at the inn to repay their kindness. Riley asks if she truly does want to be his wife, and Maria confirms she does. Riley contemplates how he can respect her desire while keeping his proposal intact. Maria admits she has no reason to reject his blessed offer, though it felt sudden and forceful. Riley suggests she balance both worlds by working at the inn while receiving consort lessons. Maria gasps in surprise and asks if noble patrons frequent her local inn. Riley clarifies that only commoners visit her inn. Riley promises to arrange a guard and convince his father. Sonia protests that he is indulging Maria far too much. Nevertheless, Riley insists on honoring her wishes. Maria ponders the overwhelming turn of events in silence. Maria wonders what Riley truly means by all of this. Riley vows to protect her no matter what happens. She worries that accepting might cause immense trouble for everyone around her. Riley gazes down at Maria with an earnest, reassuring expression. Riley acknowledges that everything is sudden and confusing for her. He urges her to head home for today since the inn staff must be worried. Maria softly agrees to rest. Maria reflects that Lord Riley can be forceful, but he possesses a truly kind heart. Meanwhile, Riley halts her to mention one final thing for tomorrow. Back at the inn, Sheila gasps in complete shock at the news. Her daughter tells her to lower her voice, but Sheila remains astonished that Maria will become the consort. Maria explains that she will eventually have to leave the inn once everything settles. The inn staff listen intently with kind and understanding smiles. Maria apologizes for troubling them after they took her in, but Sheila insists it is no burden. Sheila encourages her to relax and enjoy her remaining time at the inn. Maria thanks them warmly with tears of gratitude. The rest of the staff eagerly join in celebrating the wonderful news. Sheila asks her when she will see the Crown Prince again, and she replies that it is tomorrow. The innkeeper reacts in shock at how surprisingly fast the upcoming meeting is scheduled. Looking up at the sky, she contemplates the sudden turn of events. Maria recalls that Rayleigh planned to visit her family that very day. She worries whether everything will go smoothly during his visit. Suddenly, a voice interrupts her thoughts. Someone calls out to get her attention as she stands outside. Maria greets Lord Riley as he arrives, and he prompts them to head for the carriage. She asks Riley if he intends to travel while remaining in his young child form. Riley confirms his child form, thinking it will make things far more entertaining. Maria warns that her hostile family might treat him rudely. He assures her that he is fully prepared for their reaction. Riley suggests disguising Maria's identity as well once they are safe inside the carriage. Riley gently reaches out his hand to guide Maria into the waiting carriage. Maria gasps softly as she takes his hand and prepares to board. Maria feels flustered, remembering their previous encounter, despite his current youthful appearance. As a strange sensation lingers in the carriage, Riley asks if she just used magic. Riley presses whether she is capable of wielding magical power. He is astonished to realize that she remains entirely unaware of her own latent abilities. Maria nervously confesses that she never knew she possessed any magical talent. Figo suggests having Sonia evaluate her magic later, and Maria hesitantly agrees. Maria marvels to herself at the sudden revelation of her hidden magical potential. Riley asks what form she prefers for her disguise, so Maria defers to his choice. Riley decides to transform her into his absolute favorite form, leaving Maria utterly puzzled. Riley begins channeling magical energy from his fingertips to cast the transformation spell. A bright burst of magical light envelops Maria as the enchantment takes effect. Maria stares down in shock as her body begins to undergo a dramatic change. A cloud of magical smoke dissipates, revealing the result of Rayleigh's transformation magic. Maria cries out in complete shock upon realizing that she has been transformed into a cat. Figo points out how adorable Maria is in her cat form. As he speaks, Crown Prince Rayleigh smiles warmly as he holds her close. Meanwhile, Maria burrows into his cozy clothing while feeling overwhelmed by the affection. Seeing the scene, Sonia enthusiastically agrees with Figo's assessment. At the same time, Maria reflects on how rapidly her life has changed over the past few days. She admits to herself that being coddled like this is thoroughly embarrassing. The situation is quickly becoming far too overwhelming for her to handle. Outside, the royal carriage continues its swift journey toward the Schmille estate. Inside, Figo observes that the crown prince appears remarkably calm. He notes his composure despite their imminent confrontation with the Schmille family. Prince Rayleigh reassures that Sonia seems just as relaxed as he is. Hearing them, Maria lets out a quiet meow as she dreads returning to the house that exiled her. Noticing her distress, Prince Rayleigh reassures Maria Belle that there is no need to worry. He explains that their discussion with the Count will be kept brief. Furthermore, his body double will join later to handle the formal proceedings smoothly. Beside them, Figo looks on with eager eyes, wanting his turn. Unable to resist, Figo eagerly begs for a chance to hold feline Maria. However, Prince Rayleigh sternly refuses Figo's request. He declares that he will not allow any other man to hold her. Figo gasps in shock at the prince's sudden possessiveness. Maria also protests against the idea of being passed around. Figo insists that his intentions are completely innocent. Suddenly, Figo interrupts the argument to point out that the estate is now in sight. With their destination reached, Prince Rayleigh suggests heading inside so an anxious Maria Belle can arrive. Maria mentally contradicts him, admitting she is actually terrified. The prince chuckles softly while trying to soothe her exasperated meows. Moments later, the party arrives inside the Grand Schmille Count residence. Standing in the hall, Figo acts nervous in his body double roll while comforting himself that the prince is nearby. Meanwhile, Maria hopes her feline transformation will prevent her father from realizing her true identity. Before they can state their business, Belle dramatically drops to her knees and tearfully claims Maria is dead. Hearing this, Prince Rayleigh looks on in shock at Belle's outrageous declaration. Confused by her sudden outburst, the royal entourage demands an immediate explanation. Sobbing dramatically, Belle explains that they searched everywhere but could not locate Maria. She claims Maria was so heartbroken over being disowned by their father that she gave up on life. Consequently, they can only assume she has taken her own life. Sitting nearby in cat form, Maria listens to her sister's blatant lie in utter disbelief. Unimpressed, the prince sternly asks if a body was actually found. Belle meekly admits that no physical proof has been discovered yet. Prince Rayleigh immediately shuts her down, warning her not to arbitrarily pronounce her sister dead. From her spot on the floor, Maria glares furiously at Belle for playing the victim. Belle suddenly notices the young boy standing nearby. She loudly demands to know why a child is present, but gasps when he introduces himself as Rayleigh, wondering if he is royalty as she remembers him from the palace. Rayleigh casually points out how abruptly her attitude just changed. The atmosphere grows tense as Belle scowls at the young prince. Her sister tells Belle to stop, prompting an annoyed click of her tongue. Belle greets her father as Count Gaki thanks the prince for arriving. Gaki tries to bring up Maria Belle's unfortunate situation. However, the standing prince interrupts and refuses to listen. The prince commands a search party for Maria Belle, shocking the count. Count Gok and Belle watch in disbelief as the audience continues. Belle whispers in confusion that her charm magic is failing to affect the prince. She fumes internally that he remains completely indifferent to her gaze. Maria in cat form wonders if Belle is actively using charm magic. Young Rayleigh tells Maria to explain later, while Gaki insults the boy's appearance. Belle addresses her father directly about the boy. She points out that this child talked with Maria earlier. She worries he might be connected to the royal family. She cautions that the child could report everything to the prince. Count Gaki dismisses her fears, confident the prince would never believe a brat. Young Rayleigh muses sarcastically about the count's claim. He pretends to be unaware of his own unimportance. Meanwhile, Gok openly mocks the boy's foolish face to his daughter. Maria reacts with outrage at how blatantly Gaki insults the disguised prince. Maria claws anxiously as Rayleigh remains completely unfazed. Maria meows in frustration at the insulting words. Rayleigh quietly soothes her, telling her to let them keep talking. He smirks that letting them dig their own grave will be far more entertaining. Count Gaki snarls at the child for smirking during their family's crisis. Belle sighs mockingly at the young boy's apparent stupidity. Gok lashes out at the brat until his daughter begs him to stop. Count Gok glares furiously down at the quiet boy. Royal guards stand watch attentively nearby. Gok nervously asks a nearby knight to confirm they said nothing improper. The intimidated knight stammers that they were actually praising the child. Gok boasts that nobody will believe the boy's sole accusation of insult. Young Rayleigh softly remarks that it is a shame since he offered him a chance. Count Gok stammers in sudden confusion at the boy's cryptic response. Just then, the crown prince steps forward in his true adult form, greeting everyone as the real crown prince. Belle gasps in shock since the prince was supposed to have departed, but he reveals that was merely his body double. Figo suddenly arrives and asks in disbelief if the prince has already exposed their secret trick. Crown Prince Rayleigh apologizes to Figo, admitting he lost his temper after being insulted. Belle frantically protests that she and her father said nothing wrong, though the prince points out they said plenty. Count Schmille stammers in confusion upon realizing there are two crown princes standing before them. Desperate, Belle asks Crown Prince Riley if he truly feels no affection for her at all. Belle cannot believe her charm magic is failing, while Crown Prince Riley plainly calls her a disrespectful woman. When Crown Prince Riley asks who is telling the truth, Beaks immediately pledges his absolute belief in His Highness. Ending the farce, Crown Prince Riley declares he has no further business here after confirming Belle was cast out. Beaks stammers in surprise at the news that Belle was thrown out. Count Schmille turns to Belle in a panic, asking what lies she fed to the Crown Prince. Belle claims her father only pretended to exile Belle to discipline her, but Crown Prince Riley sees right through her lies. The room falls silent as the weight of the prince's scrutiny sets in. Crown Prince Riley notes that regardless of their excuses, Belle is no longer living in this house. Count Schmille drops to his knees and apologizes profusely to the prince. Crown Prince Riley remarks that he should have apologized earlier, prompting Count Schmille to beg for forgiveness once more. In a desperate move to curry favor, Count Schmille offers his younger daughter Belle to the prince instead. Crown Prince Riley questions his bizarre phrasing, but Count Schmille insists that he wants the prince to take her. Belle eagerly chimes in, declaring to Crown Prince Riley that she is ready to become his wife at any moment. Belle flirts openly, claiming she has admired the prince ever since they met previously. Realizing Belle's confusion, someone points out that the prince was in child form during that encounter. Crown Prince Riley smirks and points out that the person she actually spoke to was Figo, his body double. Belle freezes in complete shock and embarrassment upon learning the truth. Trying to save face, Belle begs Crown Prince Riley to let her get to know him better. Belle suddenly shifts her attention to the cat in the prince's arms, praising how cute it is. Belle asks if the prince keeps the cat as a pet, while Belle sits quietly in feline form. As the group prepares to depart, Belle asks if something is wrong. She falls silent as Figo politely deflects her concern, flattering the girl in his arms as the cutest in the world while she squeals in delight. The Crown Prince firmly states he is only interested in Maria and takes his leave. Belle begs them to wait, promising they will locate Maria. Crown Prince Riley retorts that he will search for her himself. He pointedly reminds Belle that her family was the one who kicked Maria out. Belle stammers, unable to defend her family's actions. Crown Prince Riley calls for Figo as they head out together. Maria notes that her father and sister acted exactly as expected while making cat noises. An attendant waits outside in the quiet courtyard. Maria wonders who the unfamiliar figure standing ahead could be. Tekka pauses thoughtfully before complaining about their late arrival. A note introduces Tekka as Crown Prince Riley's attendant. Crown Prince Riley apologizes and explains that a few unexpected things came up. Tekka humps in slight annoyance at his response. Tekka asks what spell needs to be cast, and Crown Prince Riley requests oblivion magic on the Schmille estate. Crown Prince Riley asks to erase memories from before his adult transformation, and Tekka agrees. Tekka completes the memory magic spell in an instant. Maria watches in awe at the display of magic. Crown Prince Riley notes that troublesome memories are gone and thanks Tekka for the help. Figo inquires about the appraisal results for Maria. Sonia reveals she already finished assessing Maria's magic. She remembers the detail suddenly. Maria wonders in shock when Sonia had the time to perform it. Sonia suggests discussing the results inside the carriage since Maria is eager to know. Maria meows in agreement. Figo nods and confirms he understands. Sonia pauses the report to turn Maria back into her human form first. Maria gasps in shock at her sudden change. Maria asks to be put down, but Crown Prince Riley refuses. Crown Prince Riley reassures her since she will soon be his wife. Maria flusters and questions if sitting on his lap is disrespect. She feels overwhelmed by the warm, gentle stares from the others. Figo groans in exasperation beside them. Crown Prince Riley asks for the appraisal, and Sonia explains that Maria enhances magic power. Maria repeats the phrase in confusion. A diagram illustrates how Maria's power amplifies surrounding magical effects. Sonia clarifies that Figo's charm magic is being amplified beyond control by Maria's presence. Sonia admits Figo looks like a sparkling prince and Maria resembles a cute older sister. Crown Prince Riley is amazed by how strong Maria's magic amplification has become. He wonders if Maria's passive magic enhances the spells of everyone around her. Sonia confirms that Maria is leaking magic uncontrollably, explaining that this leakage is the core issue affecting everyone nearby without her knowledge. Maria looks down thoughtfully as she processes their conversation. She realizes with shock that the strange events surrounding Belle over the years might be her own doing. Maria wonders in dismay if everything that happened was truly her fault all along. Crown Prince Riley reassures Maria that her worries are completely needless and that everything will be fine. Maria looks up at Crown Prince Riley with gratitude and nods. He clears his throat to shift their focus back to practical plans. The room turns quiet as they prepare for the next steps. Tekka asks Crown Prince Riley what their immediate next course of action will be. Crown Prince Riley states that while they will protect Maria, she must learn self-defense. Sonia adds that along with consort training, Maria needs to master controlling her magic. Together, they outline a complete regimen to ensure her safety and future role. Maria resolves to work as hard as possible so her magic does not harm anyone else. She clutches her fists in determination, ready to face the strict training ahead. Meanwhile, Count Schmille stands inside a grand hall with a grim expression. Count Schmille demands that Beaks find Maria, prompting Beaks to question his sudden presence. Count Schmille admits he severed ties with Maria before the news could spread, and Beeks acknowledges his words. Count Schmille sighs deeply in regret as he clutches his head. He curses himself for exiling Maria and missing his chance to become the crown princess's father. He desperately prays that Maria is still alive somewhere out there. He clenches his fists tightly in sheer rage and frustration over his blunder. Meanwhile, Belle screams in rage, demanding to know why the crown prince chose her sister instead of her. She fumes that every man until now had fallen for her except Crown Prince Riley. She boils with anger because the crown prince did not even look at her once. Belle unsheathes a sharp dagger in a fit of violent rage. Belle mutters her sister's name under her breath with cold malice. She glares menacingly while wishing Maria had died somewhere alone. Figo points out how adorable Maria is in her cat form. As he speaks, Crown Prince Riley smiles warmly as he holds her close. Meanwhile, Maria burrows into his cozy clothing while feeling overwhelmed by the affection. Seeing the scene, Sonia enthusiastically agrees with Figo's assessment. At the same time, Maria reflects on how rapidly her life has changed over the past few days. She admits to herself that being coddled like this is thoroughly embarrassing. The situation is quickly becoming far too overwhelming for her to handle. Outside, the royal carriage continues its swift journey toward the Schmille estate. Inside, Figo observes that the crown prince appears remarkably calm. He notes his composure despite their imminent confrontation with the Schmille family. Prince Riley reassures that Sonia seems just as relaxed as he is. Hearing them, Maria lets out a quiet meow as she dreads returning to the house that exiled her. Noticing her distress, Prince Riley reassures Belle that there is no need to worry. He explains that their discussion with the Count will be kept brief. Furthermore, his body double will join later to handle the formal proceedings smoothly. Beside them, Figo looks on with eager eyes, wanting his turn. Unable to resist, Figo eagerly begs for a chance to hold feline Maria. However, Prince Riley sternly refuses Figo's request. He declares that he will not allow any other man to hold her. Figo gasps in shock at the prince's sudden possessiveness. Maria also protests against the idea of being passed around. Figo insists that his intentions are completely innocent. Suddenly, Figo interrupts the argument to point out that the estate is now in sight. With their destination reached, Prince Riley suggests heading inside so an anxious Belle can arrive. Maria mentally contradicts him, admitting she is actually terrified. The prince chuckles softly while trying to soothe her exasperated meows. Moments later, the party arrives inside the Grand Schmille Count residence. Standing in the hall, Figo acts nervous in his body double roll while comforting himself that the prince is nearby. Meanwhile, Maria hopes her feline transformation will prevent her father from realizing her true identity. Before they can state their business, Belle dramatically drops to her knees and tearfully claims Maria is dead. Hearing this, Prince Riley looks on in shock at Belle's outrageous declaration. Confused by her sudden outburst, the royal entourage demands an immediate explanation. Sobbing dramatically, Belle explains that they searched everywhere but could not locate Maria. She claims Maria was so heartbroken over being disowned by their father that she gave up on life. Consequently, they can only assume she has taken her own life. Sitting nearby in cat form, Maria listens to her sister's blatant lie in utter disbelief. Unimpressed, the prince sternly asks if a body was actually found. Belle meekly admits that no physical proof has been discovered yet. Prince Riley immediately shuts her down, warning her not to arbitrarily pronounce her sister dead. From her spot on the floor, Maria glares furiously at Belle for playing the victim. Belle suddenly notices the young boy standing nearby. She loudly demands to know why a child is present, but gasps when he introduces himself as Riley, wondering if he is royalty as she remembers him from the palace. Riley casually points out how abruptly her attitude just changed. The atmosphere grows tense as Belle scowls at the young prince. Her sister tells Belle to stop, prompting an annoyed click of her tongue. Belle greets her father as Count Gaki thanks the prince for arriving. Gaki tries to bring up Belle's unfortunate situation. However, the standing prince interrupts and refuses to listen. The prince commands a search party for Belle, shocking the count. Count Gok and Belle watch in disbelief as the audience continues. Belle whispers in confusion that her charm magic is failing to affect the prince. She fumes internally that he remains completely indifferent to her gaze. Maria in cat form wonders if Belle is actively using charm magic. Young Riley tells Maria to explain later, while Gaki insults the boy's appearance. Belle addresses her father directly about the boy. She points out that this child talked with Maria earlier. She worries he might be connected to the royal family. She cautions that the child could report everything to the prince. Count Gaki dismisses her fears, confident the prince would never believe a brat. Young Riley muses sarcastically about the count's claim. He pretends to be unaware of his own unimportance. Meanwhile, Gok openly mocks the boy's foolish face to his daughter. Maria reacts with outrage at how blatantly Gaki insults the disguised prince. Maria claws anxiously as Riley remains completely unfazed. Maria meows in frustration at the insulting words. Riley quietly soothes her, telling her to let them keep talking. He smirks that letting them dig their own grave will be far more entertaining. Count Gaki snarls at the child for smirking during their family's crisis. Belle sighs mockingly at the young boy's apparent stupidity. Gok lashes out at the brat until his daughter begs him to stop. Count Gok glares furiously down at the quiet boy. Royal guards stand watch attentively nearby. Gok nervously asks a nearby knight to confirm they said nothing improper. The intimidated knight stammers that they were actually praising the child. Gok boasts that nobody will believe the boy's sole accusation of insult. Young Riley softly remarks that it is a shame since he offered him a chance. Count Gok stammers in sudden confusion at the boy's cryptic response. Just then, the Crown Prince steps forward in his true adult form, greeting everyone as the real Crown Prince. Belle gasps in shock since the prince was supposed to have departed, but he reveals that was merely his body double. Figo suddenly arrives and asks in disbelief if the prince has already exposed their secret trick. Crown Prince really apologizes to Figo, admitting he lost his temper after being insulted. Belle frantically protests that she and her father said nothing wrong, though the prince points out they said plenty. Count House Schmille stammers in confusion upon realizing there are two crown princes standing before them. Desperate, Belle asks Crown Prince Riley if he truly feels no affection for her at all. Belle cannot believe her charm magic is failing, while Crown Prince Riley plainly calls her a disrespectful woman. When Crown Prince Riley asks who is telling the truth, Beaks immediately pledges his absolute belief in his highness. Ending the farce, Crown Prince Riley declares he has no further business here after confirming Belle was cast out. Beaks stammers in surprise at the news that Belle was thrown out. Count House Schmille turns to Belle in a panic, asking what lies she fed to the Crown Prince. Belle claims her father only pretended to exile Belle to discipline her, but Crown Prince Riley sees right through her lies. The room falls silent as the weight of the prince's scrutiny sets in. Crown Prince Riley notes that regardless of their excuses, Belle is no longer living in this house. Count House Schmille drops to his knees and apologizes profusely to the prince. Crown Prince Riley remarks that he should have apologized earlier, prompting Count House Schmille to beg for forgiveness once more. In a desperate move to curry favor, Count House Schmille offers his younger daughter Belle to the prince instead. Crown Prince Riley questions his bizarre phrasing, but Count House Schmille insists that he wants the prince to take her. Belle eagerly chimes in, declaring to Crown Prince Riley that she is ready to become his wife at any moment. Belle flirts openly, claiming she has admired the prince ever since they met previously. Realizing Belle's confusion, someone points out that the prince was in child form during that encounter. Crown Prince Riley smirks and points out that the person she actually spoke to was Figo, his body double. Belle freezes in complete shock and embarrassment upon learning the truth. Trying to save face, Belle begs Crown Prince Riley to let her get to know him better. Belle suddenly shifts her attention to the cat in the prince's arms, praising how cute it is. Belle asks if the prince keeps the cat as a pet, while Belle sits quietly in feline form. As the group prepares to depart, Belle asks if something is wrong. She falls silent as Figo politely deflects her concern, flattering the girl in his arms as the cutest in the world while she squeals in delight. The Crown Prince firmly states he is only interested in Maria and takes his leave. Belle begs them to wait, promising they will locate Maria. Crown Prince Riley retorts that he will search for her himself. He pointedly reminds Belle that her family was the one who kicked Maria out. Belle stammers, unable to defend her family's actions. Crown Prince Riley calls for Figo as they head out together. Maria notes that her father and sister acted exactly as expected while making cat noises. An attendant waits outside in the quiet courtyard. Maria wonders who the unfamiliar figure standing ahead could be. Tekka pauses thoughtfully before complaining about their late arrival. A note introduces Tekka as Crown Prince Riley's attendant. Crown Prince Riley apologizes and explains that a few unexpected things came up. Tekka humps in slight annoyance at his response. Tekka asks what spell needs to be cast, and Crown Prince Riley requests oblivion magic on the Schmille estate. Crown Prince Riley asks to erase memories from before his adult transformation, and Tekka agrees. Tekka completes the memory magic spell in an instant. Maria watches in awe at the display of magic. Crown Prince Riley notes that troublesome memories are gone and thanks Tekka for the help. Figo inquires about the appraisal results for Maria. Sonia reveals she already finished assessing Maria's magic. She remembers the detail suddenly. Maria wonders in shock when Sonia had the time to perform it. Sonia suggests discussing the results inside the carriage since Maria is eager to know. Maria meows in agreement. Figo nods and confirms he understands. Sonia pauses the report to turn Maria back into her human form first. Maria gasps in shock at her sudden change. Maria asks to be put down, but Crown Prince Riley refuses. Crown Prince Riley reassures her since she will soon be his wife. Maria flusters and questions if sitting on his lap is disrespect. She feels overwhelmed by the warm, gentle stares from the others. Figo groans in exasperation beside them. Crown Prince Riley asks for the appraisal, and Sonia explains that Maria enhances magic power. Maria repeats the phrase in confusion. A diagram illustrates how Maria's power amplifies surrounding magical effects. Sonia clarifies that Figo's charm magic is being amplified beyond control by Maria's presence. Sonia admits Figo looks like a sparkling prince and Maria resembles a cute older sister. Crown Prince Riley is amazed by how strong Maria's magic amplification has become. He wonders if Maria's passive magic enhances the spells of everyone around her. Sonia confirms that Maria is leaking magic uncontrollably, explaining that this leakage is the core issue affecting everyone nearby without her knowledge. Maria looks down thoughtfully as she processes their conversation. She realizes with shock that the strange events surrounding Belle over the years might be her own doing. Maria wonders in dismay if everything that happened was truly her fault all along. Crown Prince Riley reassures Maria that her worries are completely needless and that everything will be fine. Maria looks up at Crown Prince Riley with gratitude and nods. He clears his throat to shift their focus back to practical plans. The room turns quiet as they prepare for the next steps. Tekka asks Crown Prince Riley what their immediate next course of action will be. Crown Prince Riley states that while they will protect Maria, she must learn self-defense. Sonia adds that along with consort training, Maria needs to master controlling her magic. Together, they outline a complete regimen to ensure her safety and future role. Maria resolves to work as hard as possible so her magic does not harm anyone else. She clutches her fists in determination, ready to face the strict training ahead. Meanwhile, Count Schmille stands inside a grand hall with a grim expression. Count Schmille demands that Beeks find Maria, prompting Beeks to question his sudden presence. Count Schmille admits he severed ties with Maria before the news could spread, and Beeks acknowledges his words. Count Schmille sighs deeply in regret as he clutches his head. He curses himself for exiling Maria and missing his chance to become the Crown Princess's father. He desperately prays that Maria is still alive somewhere out there. He clenches his fists tightly in sheer rage and frustration over his blunder. Meanwhile, Belle screams in rage, demanding to know why the Crown Prince chose her sister instead of her. She fumes that every man until now had fallen for her except Crown Prince Riley. She boils with anger because the Crown Prince did not even look at her once. Belle unsheathes a sharp dagger in a fit of violent rage. Belle mutters her sister's name under her breath with cold malice. She glares menacingly while wishing Maria had died somewhere alone. A few days pass after visiting the Schmille residence. An inn employee greets Maria warmly as she carries a basket. She cheerfully returns the morning greeting. A worker asks Robert if he has the day off, and he confirms he is helping out at the inn. He admits he is still unused to calling her Maria, though she reminds him those are the required conditions. Lord Riley set those strict conditions for her employment. In order to work at the inn, she must live as a commoner under the name Maria. She had to leave behind her noble title completely. She originally wondered if such simple rules were acceptable, realizing he created them for her benefit. Robert suddenly asks if she has heard the latest news about Lord Beeks, taking her by surprise. A guest mentions that Beeks looks thoroughly dejected and deeply regrets breaking off their engagement. Another customer agrees he handled things poorly and asks if Maria would ever consider taking him back. She is stunned to hear his name after how easily he abandoned her. She asks them to stop, feeling thoroughly uncomfortable with the topic. Meanwhile, a small child holding a lollipop stands nearby. Someone warns that Lord Riley might fly into a rage if Beeks approaches her. Another doubts he would react so wildly. Tekka chimes in, stating the probability of a rampage is actually very high. Robert gasps in surprise and demands to know who the child is, while another asks if he was even listening. Maria explains that the boy was sent from the palace to protect her. Tekka formally introduces himself and invites everyone to call him by name. Robert can only laugh nervously at the unusual guard. In truth, Lord Riley is surprisingly possessive and clingy. The thought makes Tekka break out in a cold sweat. He groans in anxiety over the prince's overbearing nature. Someone warns what might happen if she ever talks about leaving him, leaving Maria utterly terrified. Tekka warns that she might even lose her right to work at the inn, leaving her speechless. She sighs, knowing that such a harsh outcome is entirely possible. He permitted her an unprecedented double life as both consort and commoner, so she remains deeply grateful for his generosity. She promises to be extra careful not to make Lord Riley anxious, which Tekka agrees is wise. Robert suddenly shouts at Tekka to stop what he is doing. He insists that no matter how important the boy is at court, he cannot eat or drink freely here. Tekka pouts playfully and tells him to put up a proper sign if that is the case. As she watches them, Maria realizes she only receives kindness from Lord Riley and wonders what she can do in return for him. A few days later, a sudden commotion breaks out near the royal training hall. Screams echo down the hallway as a crowd swoons over Figo while an instructor desperately shouts for order amid the chaos. Figo stands flustered as the enraptured onlookers swarm around him. Schmille watches the scene in shock and asks what happened to everyone. An attendant explains that a magic control test went wrong, accidentally entrancing their instructor. Riley sighs, noting that Figo still struggles to suppress his passive charm magic. Schmille bows deeply and offers Figo her sincere apologies. Figo reassures her that he is completely used to these incidents. He gives her a gentle smile to put her at ease. Figo checks his communication device to review incoming reports. Schmille decides to return to her regular tasks now that the trouble has passed. She expresses relief that they managed to resolve the situation. Figo nods cheerfully and commends her efforts. Riley watches Schmille attentively as she prepares to leave. Riley explains that Figo was ostracized by his own family due to his charm magic. Because he unintentionally charms anyone nearby, he has been kidnapped repeatedly throughout his life. Schmille gasps in disbelief upon hearing his painful backstory. He mentions that most of his personal attendants share similarly difficult pasts. Schmille nods sympathetically, gaining a new perspective on the prince's inner circle. Shifting the subject, Riley announces that he has a task assigned for her. He presents a giant stack of letters and asks her to sort them out. Schmille stares at the overwhelming mountain of correspondence in total shock. She picks up the top envelope with a troubled expression. She notices that nearly all the mail comes from unfamiliar strangers. Schmille suddenly pales as her gaze settles on a specific letter. Riley senses her sudden shift in mood and asks what is bothering her. She discloses that she found messages from her former bully alongside Belle's letter. Riley apologizes for bringing back painful memories, but she softly reassures him. Schmille turns around in surprise as Riley pulls a chair closer. Riley offers to sit down and help her filter through the huge pile. Schmille asks if he shouldn't be attending to his royal workload instead. Riley tells her not to worry about his official duties. He gives her a gentle smile to ease her concerns. He gazes fondly at her as he places his hands near. He warmly invites her to sit beside him and she gratefully complies. She gazes thoughtfully into the distance as ambient light sparkles around her. Sitting quietly beside Riley, she feels nervous about their growing closeness. Even though she was close to him before, working right beside Lord Riley makes her heart race, making it completely impossible to concentrate on her tasks. Riley asks if her job at the inn is going well and she brightly confirms it. She pauses as she realizes it may soon be time to quit working there. Riley explains that he will host an official debut celebration very soon. This means she will no longer be able to conceal her true identity. He admits he was considering finding a replacement worker for her. She quickly urges him not to worry about that issue at all. The innkeeper has already managed to secure a suitable replacement. Hearing this news brings him a sense of relief. A knock at the door interrupts their quiet conversation. Sonia interrupts to report that the girl's family and Beeks have arrived seeking an audience. She asks her master how he wishes to handle their unexpected request. Riley turns to inquire what his fiancé prefers. Riley asks if she wishes to meet them but ultimately decides against it. Maria Belle requests that the visitors be sent away and Sonia promptly acknowledges the order. She apologizes for causing so much unexpected trouble. Riley gently assures her that she has no reason to offer an apology. She admits feeling frightened since she remains uncertain of her father's true motives. She acknowledges her family's past rudeness and worries about Belle's potential schemes. Riley listens attentively as she reflects on her family's past behavior. Riley points out that memory-erasing magic erased their recollection of recent events, so Belle likely still believes she can charm him. Maria Belle realizes that their memories of that confrontation have completely vanished. Riley resolves to dismiss her persistent relatives for the time being. He intends to confront and outmaneuver them during the upcoming grand celebration instead. Count Gok reacts with intense disbelief when denied entry at the gate. The royal guard firmly informs the astonished family that no audience is granted and orders them to turn back. Gok angrily shouts that he is the bride's father, but the guard unyieldingly demands his immediate departure. The turned-away party leaves the palace entrance in defeat. The guard watches silently as Gokki and his companions walk away. Among them, Beeks mutters Maria's name under his breath. He wonders in deep regret why he ever broke off his engagement with her. As their carriage travels onward, heavy tension fills the quiet ride. Belle asks what their next move should be while Count Gok remains brooding and silent. Beeks suggests requesting a private interview with only Maria Belle next time. Count Gok counters that after recent events, the palace will be on guard and refuse them. Belle reminds him that he is her real father, but Gokki notes that argument no longer works. She looks back and forth between her father and Beeks in disbelief. Meanwhile, Beeks ponders why everyone has been treating him so coldly lately. Belle realizes, with growing frustration, that both men are completely ignoring her. Beeks keeps obsessing over how they only care to talk about Maria Belle now. She begins to wonder if she was only doted on because her sister was always present. Quickly shaking off the thought, she insists Maria Belle was merely a tool to enhance her own image. She resolves that she must somehow make the Crown Prince recognize her irresistible charm. A dark, scheming smirk forms across her face as her obsession takes over. Calling out to her father and Beeks, she breaks the silence inside the carriage. She flashes a sinister smile as she announces that she has just conceived a brilliant scheme. A bustling town street comes alive as news spreads among the townsfolk. The crowd gathers excitedly, whispering about the latest royal announcement. Townsfolk gossip about the Crown Prince getting engaged so quickly after searching for a partner. They share that the bride's name is Maria Belle Tiarl, a count's daughter. Onlookers admire a photo of the royal couple, calling them a perfect match. Meanwhile, Beeks stares thoughtfully as the news echoes through the town streets. He sits alone in his room at an inn, heavy with regret. Beeks covers his face with his hand, overwhelmed by his thoughts. He lets out a deep sigh of despair. He notes to himself that Maria Belle has officially become the crown princess. Her surname has changed, meaning she was adopted by a relative. Since she no longer has ties to the Schmille family, interacting with her will be nearly impossible. He tries to convince himself that Belle is cute and that he still likes her, yet his mind strays. Calling himself a terrible man, he wonders why Maria Belle lingers so stubbornly in his mind. Memories of his past actions weigh heavily on his shoulders. He rubs his tired eyes, explaining he fled to the inn to distance himself, yet feels helpless. Hearing a knock, he asks who it is, and a voice announces that a visitor has arrived. His heart leaps as he wonders if Maria Belle herself has come to see him. The voice clarifies that the visitor has pink hair instead. She is reportedly the daughter of a duchess. Beeks wonders why a noblewoman of that status would seek him out. He realizes that contact from a duke's family at this specific moment cannot be a coincidence. He instructs the servant to send the visitor inside. Elsewhere, elegant music plays through the grand corridors of a royal palace. A visitor walks gracefully across the polished floor toward an important meeting. Inside the room, Heinz guides Maria through dance practice, calling out each movement. She concentrates hard as she repeats the footwork directions to herself. Noticing her fatigue, Heinz offers to take a short break and Maria gratefully agrees. The two step away from the dance floor to rest and enjoy a warm cup of tea. He hands her a cup with a polite smile and she thanks him warmly. Maria lets out a long sigh as she settles into her seat. She apologizes for constantly messing up the dance steps, but Heinz reassures her gently that everyone has areas where they struggle. He suggests that her nerves might simply be getting the better of her ahead of the upcoming unveiling party. Maria admits she hopes that is the case, hesitating as she mentions dancing with him. Heinz asks if something about their practice is unsatisfactory. She hastily explains she was only worried about taking him away from a partner, but Heinz assures her not to worry. He calmly reveals that he is actually a married man, taking Maria completely by surprise. Heinz adds that he is 10 years older than her, surprising Maria further since she assumed they were close in age. He explains that he is genuinely grateful to her, leaving Maria confused as to why. He concludes that there is no issue at all with them dancing together. Maria listens intently as Heinz prepares to explain his gratitude. Heinz explains that his wife will become her lady-in-waiting once Maria becomes crown princess. Maria realizes Lord Riley had already mentioned this. He shares that circumstances kept him and his wife living apart, making this a wonderful opportunity for them to finally live together. Maria beams at the lovely news and remarks on how deeply Heinz must love his wife. Heinz counters with a gentle tease about how much Maria loves Lord Riley, catching her completely off guard. Maria stammers in confusion at his sudden remark, but Heinz points out the loving look she was making. She flushes, wondering what kind of face she could have possibly been making. A familiar voice interrupts the moment, calling out to Heinz from nearby. Crown Prince Riley steps forward, lightheartedly telling his attendant to stop teasing Maria so much. Maria looks up, startled and delighted to see Lord Riley appear before them. Heinz thanks the prince for his hard work and asks how her dance practice is going. He replies that Maria is doing her best, though she still has a long way to go. Lord Riley offers to step in and practice with her instead, leaving Maria surprised by his availability. He reassures her with a gentle smirk that he already finished all his duties just for her. Maria stares back at him in awe as her heart leaps at his handsome expression. She internally admits that she is completely defenseless in front of him. His playful, mischievous smile always manages to completely disarm her. He patiently guides her steps as they begin to turn together across the floor. They sway together in harmony as Lord Riley holds her close during the dance. Maria asks him if something is wrong when he suddenly pauses. She gets confused by his quiet gaze. Then she groans in surprise as he pulls her tighter into his stride. Lord Riley leans closer while keeping his hand steadily around her waist. He teases her about not being very good at dancing. She nervously says that she gets flustered easily. He chuckles that she is simply trying too hard, prompting her to beg him not to laugh. Their feet move awkwardly together on the dance floor as Maria stumbles slightly. Lord Riley chuckles softly and reassures her that the actual celebration is still far off. He suggests taking their time so they can practice comfortably without any rush. Maria pouts playfully at him after receiving his gentle teasing. She gasps in surprise and accuses Lord Riley of being mean today. She complains that he is poking fun at her clumsy footwork. He smirks back and asks if she is rushing because she wants to marry him quickly. She frantically denies rushing for that reason, blushing bright red. She insists that she only makes mistakes because she gets anxious about messing up. He looks down at her with an amused grin, questioning if that is really the truth. She huffs internally, wishing she could find a way to get back at his tease. She pauses thoughtfully while searching for something to say. Heinz watches the two of them interact from the side of the ballroom. He steps forward with a gentle, polite expression to intervene. Heinz politely interjects that they are in the middle of a formal dance lesson. He suggests that Lord Riley might be teasing her a bit too much. Maria murmurs softly as she listens to him speak up. Heinz turns to Maria Belle and asks for her agreement on the matter. She stammers in surprise but quickly agrees with his assessment. She celebrates internally that Heinz has come to save her from the teasing. Maria boldly points out that Heinz's dance instruction was much gentler than his. Lord Riley gasps in shock at her unexpected comparison. Heinz smiles quietly while Riley looks utterly stunned by her comment. Lord Riley flushes with a sudden flash of intense jealousy and shock. Maria stares back at him in awe, marveling that she has never seen such an expression on his face before. He stands flustered while Maria silently wonders if her teasing words actually work. She wonders if she truly made him jealous, though it feels like wishful thinking. Maria giggles softly at his earnest expression, her quiet laughter breaking the tense mood. Lord Riley asks what she is laughing about, but she quickly claims it is nothing. Her dance partner notices her distraction and asks why she is spacing out. Lord Riley suddenly pauses as they hold hands, feeling a strange change. He asks Maria if she has gotten better at controlling her magic, which startles her slightly. He explains that her magic usually flows into him, but today that flow completely stopped. He commends her for finally mastering her magic control just like other high nobles. He warns her that high-ranking nobles are frequently targeted by enemies. Maria asks if high society is really that dangerous. She reveals that she faced several life-threatening situations as a child. Because of those dangers, she has barely left the castle ever since. Lord Riley asks if she could stay somewhere with much tighter security. Maria points out that no place can completely guarantee her safety while she sleeps. She admits that she knew the risks before stepping into such a perilous world. She confesses she would hate it even more if someone important to her got hurt. Lord Riley reassures her that he will never let anything dangerous happen to her. Maria warmly replies that she feels the exact same way about his safety. Lord Riley looks at her in surprise, touched by her sudden declaration. He expresses his happiness that Maria Belle considers him an important person in her life. Meanwhile, she wonders to herself why he cares about her so deeply. She wonders if he values her for her enhancement magic. She considers whether it is just because her magic feels comfortable. Ultimately, she questions if he truly likes her for who she is. Maria nervously asks Lord Riley why he chose her, prompting him to ask if she truly wants his answer. Flustered, she backtracks and suggests she should not ask, but he playfully pushes back. She admits that hearing the reason right now might make her melt from embarrassment. Lord Riley relents and agrees to wait for now. He promises to tell her so often after they marry that she will grow sick of hearing it. Maria stammers in shock at the sudden mention of their marriage. Seeing her reaction, he softly offers to tell her right away if she prefers. Lord Riley pauses mid-sentence as a strange sensation catches his attention. Maria blushes deeply, gazing back at him with a startled, intense look. She lowers her eyes with a flushed face and wide, trembling eyes. Before he can speak further, someone clears his throat loudly to interrupt the intimate moment. Hines irritably asks if they forgot he was standing right there. He wraps his arms around her tightly as she clings to him. She swoons back dizzy while he catches her gently in his arms. With a dizzy expression, she declares that today's practice has officially ended. A few days later, events unfold at the Hall's family residence. Belle asks Beeks if he has met with the Duchess's daughter yet. Beeks accuses her of being the real mastermind behind the whole situation. Belle wonders if the young lady kept talking incessantly about the Crown Prince. She notes that the girl's feelings for the Crown Prince are widely famous. Beeks questions how famous she could be as a distant foreign duchess's daughter. Belle explains that the young girl launched an extremely aggressive pursuit at just 15. Because of her relentless actions, rumors spread across borders very quickly. Beeks reflects on her age and admits she seemed remarkably young. Belle voices her desire for their current plan to proceed as intended. She worries about meeting the prince while Beeks mentions Maria's upcoming meeting. Beeks anticipates receiving news immediately after the audience comes to an end. Belle slyly invites Beeks to stay with her while they... As he pulls away, Belle looks back in confusion and calls out to Halls. Halls turns away coldly as she reaches toward him. Belle demands to know why he is acting so distant, but Halls tells her to stop clinging to him. Halls mutters distantly that he does not even know the reason. He bluntly admits that he no longer feels any charm coming from her. Belle stares in complete shock as her hold over him slips away. Belle screams that his harsh honesty is terrible. She insists that none of this would have happened if he hadn't broken off his engagement. Everything went wrong because of his past choice. Devastated, Belle saunts to the bed in total defeat. Halls can only offer a quiet apology in response. Belle buries her face in her hands and groans in misery. Belle laments that nothing has gone right ever since her sister vanished. She desperately realizes that her new ally is her only remaining hope. She places all her expectations on the Duchess's daughter from Luciella country. Kara Kirik greets Maria Belle with energetic enthusiasm. She introduces herself cheerfully as the Duchess's daughter. Then she expresses her deep gratitude for being granted a meeting today. She beams brightly, standing poised and confident beside her companion. Meanwhile, Maria Belle politely greets her while inwardly wondering how she landed in this awkward scenario. Days earlier, a distinguished gentleman poses gracefully amidst falling flower petals. Beside him, Maria Belle dresses elegantly as soft rose petals flutter around her. Flashback to a few days prior, during a routine dance practice session. Hines pauses to ask Maria Belle an unexpected side question. He asks if she knows the famous Kirak family from Luciella. She nods in agreement, confirming their prominent noble standing. Hines reveals that their young daughter recently delivered an urgent letter for her. The young lady asked for a direct audience to discuss a critical matter. He hands over the folded message for her inspection. Maria Belle gazes at the letter, completely baffled that a duchess's daughter wrote to her. She stares in stunned silence as the realization settles in. Hines casually mentions that Kara Kirik is madly in love with Lord Riley, shocking Maria Belle. He continues explaining the situation while standing beside the bewildered bride-to-be. Hines notes that Lord Riley already turned down the girl's advances. However, he warns that this requested meeting is hardly a friendly conversation. Kara even confessed her love to Lord Riley despite already having a fiancé. Hearing this bizarre situation, Maria Belle simply nods in quiet understanding. Hines points out that Kara is merely a 15-year-old girl, whereas Maria Belle is the official crown princess candidate. With a playful smirk, he assures her there should be no issue with attending the meeting alone. The young duchess sits quietly across from Maria inside the reception room. She starts to bring up what she was told earlier. She eagerly thanks Maria for agreeing to grant her unreasonable request. Maria points out that waiting for the unveiling party would have been fine otherwise. She gives a soft, polite chuckle as she sips her tea. Maria recalls Hines mentioning Kyara beforehand. She agrees that the girl seems quite kind on the surface. However, she keeps in mind that Kyara changes when Crown Prince Riley is involved. Maria reassures herself that she has already overcome many difficult trials. She resolves to maintain her dignity to honor Riley's name. Kara suddenly asks how Maria and the prince first became acquainted. The tea setting sits quietly on the elegant table between them. Maria answers that she was invited as a candidate for Crown Princess. Maria notes that a simple letter would have sufficed if that was all. Kara quickly panics and denies that her visit is so simple. She then accuses Maria of saying mean things to her. Kyara murmurs that Halls never described Maria as being like this. Shock registers on Kara's face as the name leaves her mouth. Kara gasps dramatically while Maria calmly asks who that person is. Kara dramatically laments the tragic fate of poor Halls. Kyra claims that abandoning one's fiancé is utterly vile, even if requested by Riley. She wonders aloud whether the Crown Prince is aware of this scandal. She adds indignantly that Maria abandoned Halls and now acts like she does not know him. Kara maliciously ponders what would happen if Riley found out. Kara insists that Halls is currently suffering from grief. She emphasizes how Maria abandoned him before becoming engaged to Riley. Her voice grows increasingly furious as she recounts the situation. Kara declares that such a heartless woman is unfit to be crown princess. Maria merely sighs in exasperation, which deeply offends Kara. Maria firmly clarifies that she did not abandon Halls. Kara stammers in confusion as Maria realizes Halls completely lied to her. Kara explains she was told Maria's engagement was annulled before becoming a crown princess candidate. She asks if Maria agreed to meet simply to confirm that story. Maria thanks her for the information and vows to consult Riley to have Halls punished, leaving Kara stammering. Panicking, Kara insists that punishment is unnecessary as it was likely a misunderstanding. She silently wonders why Maria would choose to defend Halls. Kara puzzles over why a duchess's daughter would protect a count's son from another land. Maria asks if the story has been shared with anyone else, which Kara quickly denies. Maria warns that spreading lies in high society would lead to punishment for both of them. Wishing her a safe journey home, Maria expresses gratitude for Maria Belle's generous heart. When Kara lingers, Maria asks what else she needs before departing. Kara reveals that she has hired Halls as her attendant. She plans to bring him to the upcoming party. She asks Maria to keep him company during the event. Kara turns and walks away from the room. Maria firmly states that she has nothing left to say to Halls. Meanwhile, the scene shifts back to the royal palace exterior. Maria lets out a weary sigh after her tense encounter. Riley greets her warmly as she returns. He asks how the meeting went, and Maria reports that Halls became Kara's attendant. Maria adds that Belle is involved, startling Sonia. Maria reveals Belle is now Kara's lady-in-waiting, leaving Sonia completely shocked. Hines wonders what it will take for them to finally leave Maria alone. Riley allows them to attend the party but forbids interaction between Maria and Halls. He asks if she can comply with this boundary. Maria apologizes for causing so much trouble. Riley confidently assures her that he can handle the situation. He reminds her that he holds the authority of the crown prince. Maria listens silently to his reassuring declaration. Elsewhere, Kara fumes in private following her meeting. Kara rants furiously about Maria's arrogance while Halls groans beside her. She stomps around in pure anger. Her frustration boils over as she vents her feelings. She screams that Maria made a complete fool out of her. It appalls her that such a woman is engaged to Riley. She refuses to accept the situation. Kara turns her anger toward Halls as well. She angrily calls him completely useless. Still fuming, Kara demands that Belle fetch her a book about magic instead. Halls notes he asked for it first, prompting Belle to agree to help him. Kara fumes that she asked Belle directly, but Halls retorts that it makes no difference, driving her to insist her order takes priority. Belle asks if something good will happen if she brings the book. Kara clicks her tongue in irritation at Belle's response. Silver handbells ring as an attendant is summoned. The attendant arrives promptly and asks if his lady called for him. Kara yells at the attendant to educate Belle properly, leaving him confused. She complains that she hired Belle for dirt on Maria, but Belle proves useless. Belle explains she only became a lady-in-waiting to talk about her sister. She refuses to perform any other duties. Hearing this, the attendant stays silent. Hall stops the arguing and demands to know Maria's weakness. Kara waits eagerly as he questions Belle. He asks Belle directly for details. Belle smugly asserts that Maria's only weakness is being less cute than her. Hall sighs in disbelief at Belle's ridiculous assertion. The long-awaited day of the unveiling party finally arrives. Sunlight streams into the grand opulent halls of the royal palace. An excited buzz fills the entire palace as guests gather for the event. Maria admits she feels exhausted after undergoing such rigorous preparations. Knowing the main event approaches, she steels her resolve for the party. She checks her reflection while standing inside her dressing room. A maid announces that the crown prince awaits her, and Maria confirms she is ready. The door opens quietly as Maria steps forward to join the prince. Dressed in a breathtaking ball gown, Maria stands fully prepared for her grand debut. Waiting for her, Lord Riley stands elegantly in his formal attire, looking immaculate for the debut. He turns to Maria in surprise, complimenting her stunning appearance and calling her truly beautiful. Blushing deeply, Maria returns the compliment by remarking how handsome he looks today. She teasingly asks if he is being unusually honest with his praise today. Nearby, Sonia gasps in admiration at how stunning the couple looks together. Figo warmly echoes her praise and commends both of them on their lovely attire. Standing in his original form, Figo explains that he will not attend the party himself today. He turns to address Lord Riley directly while preparing to take his leave from the room. Lord Riley calls out to Figo to get his attention before he departs. Figo asks what he needs, so Riley warns him not to stare at Maria so intently. Figo responds with confusion and asks why he shouldn't look at her. Riley points out their similar faces and jokes that he would be troubled if Maria became obsessed with Figo. Figo turns serious and tells his master to pay close attention to his advice. He warns Riley that being overly controlling or possessive will only make him disliked. He urges the prince to be much more careful with his behavior. Grudgingly, Riley mutters that he understands the warning. Shifting his focus, Riley cheerfully announces that they must greet their guests before the main event begins. He offers his arm to Maria and gently asks if he may escort her into the hall. Maria smiles warmly and replies that she would be troubled if he didn't escort her. Lord Riley gently takes Maria's hand, cementing their partnership before entering the grand ballroom. The vast ballroom shines brightly above as guests gather for the grand celebration. Looking out at the crowd, Maria feels the weight of the moment despite having Lord Riley beside her. She inwardly admits to herself that she is still incredibly nervous about her debut. Sensing her anxiety, Riley softly asks if she is worried about facing her former fiancé. Maria remains silent, troubled by those mounting worries as they prepare to step forward. Nearby, a noblewoman worries aloud that Beeks and her Belle will disrupt the whole event, leaving Halls looking down apologetically. Clasping her hands anxiously, Maria blames herself for causing trouble on such a special day. Crown Prince Riley gently speaks her name to cut off her self-doubt. He tells her not to worry, but Maria still hesitates with concern. Smiling confidently, Crown Prince Riley assures her that he has already taken measures to keep everything safe. Guests gather inside the bustling grand ballroom of the royal palace. Attendees marvel at the sheer size of the crowd filling the room. The chatter echoes throughout the hall as more people arrive. Everyone feels overwhelmed by the huge turnout for the party. Meanwhile, high-class guests weave their way through the packed venue. She complains loudly about how overcrowded the hall has become. Her companion looks around nervously, unable to spot Maria Belle anywhere. Her fiancé questions why she had to bring along her butler and lady-in-waiting. Beeks simply suggests that she is likely not arrived yet. She giggles playfully as murmurs break out among the surrounding guests. Onlookers whisper in excitement upon spotting Maria Belle nearby. Annoyed by the crowd, Kara snaps at the people blocking her path. She approaches a royal attendant directly to demand an audience with Maria Belle. The attendant recognizes her immediately and reveals that they have been expecting her arrival. The attendant explains that Maria Belle will make time for her if she waits in the courtyard. Kara eagerly agrees to wait for as long as it takes. She then demands to be shown to the location immediately. Her fiancé demands to know what scheme she is plotting, but she dismisses it as a harmless game. She orders him to stay put right where he is. Moments later, she waits outside in the quiet moonlit courtyard terrace. She grows impatient as time passes without Maria Belle appearing. Beeks worries that they might have been duped into coming here. She retorts that Maria Belle is certainly deceitful enough to lie to them. Turning back to her accomplices, Kara asks if they fully remember the plan. Her fiancé confirms his understanding without hesitation. She insists on reviewing the scheme one more time just to be sure. She reminds Beeks to charm Maria Belle so that she will take him back. Once the two reunite, Crown Prince Riley will be left single once again. Her overall goal is to free up the prince for herself. She gleefully imagines taking full advantage of the heartbroken princess once he is left alone. Suddenly, footsteps echo through the courtyard as a handsome noble arrives. Crown Prince Riley apologizes with a smirk for keeping them waiting. They both stare at him in complete shock, bewildered by his sudden appearance. Recovering her composure, Kyra formally greets him and expresses her great honor in meeting him. Meanwhile, Beeks demands to know why the prince is there instead of Maria. Riley casually explains that Maria is busy, offering to relay any message himself. He remarks on their persistence while Beeks stammers in response. Riley asks if they are hiding something they cannot share with him. Beeks stands silently alongside his companions, clearly unnerved. The prince observes them with a sharp, calculated glare. Belle pushes forward to announce her desire to meet the prince, while Kara tries to restrain her. Belle stubbornly refuses to back down, insisting she will do as she pleases. She aggressively lunges past the group toward the crown prince. Sonia suddenly steps into her path with an unyielding posture. Belle gasps in surprise as her path is completely blocked. When Belle asks her to move, Sonia firmly declares that approaching the prince without permission is forbidden. Sonia coldly informs Belle that her charm magic has no effect on her due to her natural resistance. Confused by the mention of resistance, Belle quickly brushes it aside to focus on the crown prince. Belle calls out directly to Riley, but he coldly cuts her off for speaking so familiarly. Riley demands that she speak quickly, leaving Kyra flustered beside her. Belle dramatically accuses her sister of still being in love with Lord Beeks. She points strictly at Beeks to emphasize her claim. She insists that Maria Belle does not care about the crown prince at all. Belle boldly claims that her older sister is deceiving him. Riley quietly echoes her words with a chillingly calm tone. Riley sternly asks if they are suggesting he tore Maria Belle and Beeks apart. His sharp glare fixes on Beeks as he demands a direct answer. He menacingly warns Beeks not to make him repeat himself. Beeks stammers in terror, desperately trying to deny the accusation. Cutting him off, Lord Riley dismisses the visitors and tells them to leave for the day. He sternly warns that lying to royalty carries heavy criminal charges, leaving Belle gasping in shock as she asks why that would be a crime. He flatly replies that deceiving royal authority makes prosecution entirely natural. Belle panics, unable to accept the harsh reality of their situation. Meanwhile, quiet grandeur fills the upper hallways of the royal palace. Elegant architectural details frame the regal presence walking through the corridor. The royal figure turns gracefully while pondering the recent events in the castle. The Empress of Fraise gently asks Maria if she feels anxious about Lord Riley. She explains that she has entrusted the whole matter to her son. If he cannot resolve this challenge himself, he will never be fit to become emperor. Facing such trials is essential for his future as ruler. She adds that a leader unable to handle his wife's problems cannot govern a kingdom. She catches herself with a chuckle, while Maria timidly reminds her that they are not married yet. Maria asks if the Empress has ever felt overwhelming pressure, and she admits without hesitation that she has. She reflects that the Emperor always carries an even heavier burden than her own. Because of that, she refuses to let any personal weakness show. She stays resolute as his ally even when standing directly before enemies. She asserts that remaining steadfast is the ultimate duty of an emperor's wife. She then asks if Maria was shocked when she was suddenly chosen as crown princess, and Maria softly confirms it. Maria adds that she feels deeply grateful, recalling how desperate her situation was back then. The Empress notes that had Maria rejected the arrangement, things might have turned out differently. She confesses that her silence stemmed from her tendency to dote on her son. She sincerely apologizes for being overly soft regarding Lord Riley, leaving Maria deeply moved by her honesty. Maria reassures her that caring so deeply for one's child is completely natural. The Empress warmly tells Maria that she already considers her one of her own children. Maria expresses her profound admiration for such genuine maternal warmth. The Empress replies that she is truly honored by her kind words. Hearing footsteps, Maria notices Lord Riley returning, and the Empress wishes he would approach with a bit more composure. Heavy footsteps echo in the hall as someone arrives outside the doorway. The Empress smiles and encourages Maria to go comfort her anxious fiancé. Outside, Prince Riley adjusts his collar thoughtfully as he gazes ahead. As Maria approaches, he turns to address her directly. She notices his serious expression and asks if something is wrong. Riley asks if he tore her away from her former fiancé while they were still in love. Surprised by his question, Maria asks if Belle and the others told him that rumor. She reminds him that her fiancé was actually the one who ended their engagement. Riley acknowledges her point, yet he still hesitates thoughtfully. He admits he felt uneasy after hearing claims that she and her former fiancé were in love. Maria reassures him that Belle is simply lying and that she was completely over Beaks immediately. She leans closer and softly asks for his reassurance. Riley smiles with relief, glad to hear her clear response. He gently questions whether she trusted him, prompting her to explain herself nervously. Maria reaches up affectionately toward his face. She smiles warmly while gently touching his cheek. Riley playfully remarks that he is not a dog to be petted like that. Maria immediately apologizes in a sudden panic. She then quietens down, gazing up into his eyes. He looks back at her with a gentle, focused gaze. He pulls her closer, preparing to lean in for a kiss. He leans forward with a soft murmur. Suddenly, Maria stops him with a loud protest, startling Riley completely. She covers her face frantically, explaining that her lipstick will smudge. An attendant announces that it is time to head to the event venue. Riley calls back that he understands. He quietly sighs, realizing his romance has been postponed yet again. The announcer welcomes the guests as the grand royal party presenting the crown princess candidates officially begins. Even though the party is just getting started, Maria already feels completely exhausted. She looks beside her and silently marvels at Riley's composed strength. She realizes how truly amazing he is under all this pressure. Despite the lingering tension from Belle and the others, Maria tries to stay focused. Drawing strength from Riley's steadfast presence, she regains her composure. Remembering the Empress's counsel, she reminds herself not to display any weakness. A small mistake is acceptable to her as long as she stays helpful to Riley. She resolves to put forth her utmost effort so Riley can rest easy. Under the glittering ballroom lights, Maria dances gracefully in Riley's arms. Meanwhile, a carriage travels away from the palace beneath the starry sky. Kyra sighs heavily in frustration after a tiring evening. She deeply regrets bringing Belle with her. She notes that she gained nothing from the effort. To make matters worse, she only managed to anger Prince Riley. Beside her, Belle sits quietly in sullen discontent. Kara wonders how Maria and Belle could truly be full sisters. She worries about what will happen if her father finds out. She concludes that Maria must be just as foolish as her sister. Rising abruptly, Kara loudly proclaims that she is far better suited to be the crown princess. Belle cautions her not to stand in a moving carriage, making Kara laugh nervously as she sits back down. As the carriage rolls along, Kara quietly ponders if she can manipulate Belle to serve her own ambitions. A few days pass following the grand debut party at the castle. Maria practices her magical arts, summoning glowing blue spheres of energy. Her brief sense of relief after the party vanishes quickly. Her crown princess training intensifies significantly, making her daily schedule far busier. She worries about keeping up with the overwhelming workload. Her magic instructor praises her rapid improvement in magic control, startling Maria out of her concentration. Just then, Sonia enters, reassuring Maria that she knocked first and asking if she interrupted training. She then explains that she urgently needs to discuss an important matter with Maria. The attendant reveals that Belle's punishment has already been decided, catching Maria off guard with its swiftness. She notes that the Senate experienced a bit of trouble while reaching a decision on the penalty. Hearing that, Maria silently wonders if the difficulty stems from concerns that punishing a crown princess candidate's sister would look bad. She learns that the disgraced girl has been disowned by Duke Kirik's family and sent to live under supervision at a convent. Although Belle is her own sister, Maria admits that she brought this punishment entirely upon herself. Sonia listens attentively as the noblewoman comes to terms with her sister's fate. She adds that her sister did something truly terrible and needs to reflect on her actions. Sonia agrees with her and hopes she learns her lesson as well. Now Sonia shifts their conversation toward the main topic they need to discuss. She gets straight to the point, reporting that Lady Belle disappeared on her way to the convent. Hearing this, Maria can only stare back in complete disbelief. An urgent announcement reveals that Belle has mysteriously disappeared. Hearing this news, Maria gasps in complete shock and confusion. The guard explains that today was meant to be her escort to the convent, but something went wrong along the way. He adds that bandits attacked the carriage during the transfer, leaving Belle's fate hanging in the balance. Because of the chaos, her official status remains entirely unknown. Maria whispers her sister's name, deeply shaken by the sudden revelation. Sonia stands quietly as the report continues. Sonia confirms that the guards and coachman were found unconscious without severe injuries. Maria asks if only Belle went missing. The group considers how suspicious it is that only Belle was taken. Although the motive is still under investigation, one specific detail remains deeply puzzling to everyone present. Everyone falls into a contemplative silence. They suddenly learn that Duke Kirak's territory might be involved in the incident. Crown Prince Riley confirms that the carriage attack occurred squarely within Duke Kirak's domain. Prince Riley turns to address the room with a grave expression. Hines questions why the Duke would handle this matter unless he has an ulterior scheme. He suggests this plot surely targets Maria once again. Maria gasps in shock at being brought into the center of the mystery. Crown Prince Riley recalls how Kara Kirak was obsessed with Maria at the previous gathering. He asks Sonia to verify his memory of the incident. Sonia promptly confirms his observation. Sonia adds that Kara was remarkably persistent in her demands to speak with Maria. Prince Riley firmly insists that Belle is definitely still alive despite her official missing status. Hines cautions the prince against stating such unverified theories right in front of Maria. Prince Riley counters that the situation becomes obvious once they connect the logical clues. He pauses as he prepares to lay out his reasoning. He explains that Kara was fined and Beeks cannot approach Maria as a mere butler. Therefore, they stage the bandit raid to simulate Belle's disappearance. This scheme allows them to bypass protocol and orchestrate a drama. Tekka observes that when Belle reappears, they will exploit the sympathy to make contact with Maria. Hines remarks that the whole affair is unfolding according to Kara's calculated script, and the others agree. Turning to Maria, Prince Riley asks for a personal perspective on the situation. Maria admits she also suspects Belle is still alive and well. She notes that sudden crises like this have always been part of Belle's schemes. Because of that past, she feels certain this situation is no different. The prince realizes that Belle is likely acting under orders from Kara. He instructs his attendants to keep searching and gathering information, predicting she will try to reach out soon. 5 days later, an attendant rushes in with an urgent report, breathlessly announcing that Belle has finally been found. Sonia explains that Belle was found inside a remote mountain cabin. Before storming the place, the rescue team overheard a conversation inside. She prepares to share what they learned. Inside the cabin, Belle makes sure her accomplice is listening. She schemed to pretend she lost her memory from kidnapping shock so she can avoid convent exile. The spy reminds her of Lady Kara's orders to expose Maria's true nature. Belle confirms she knows and tells the spy to return to the Kirak house. She remains confident in her deceitful scheme. Sonia mutters in disbelief at Belle's ridiculous claim of memory loss. She cannot believe her sister is still plotting such schemes. Lord Riley notes that Belle is requesting a meeting and checks if Maria Belle is all right. Maria Belle calmly accepts and commands them to prepare for the encounter. The guard acknowledges her swift command in surprise. Lord Riley asks her to join the confrontation as planned. He adds that she is free to decline if she feels uncomfortable. Maria Belle reassures him that she is completely fine. She explains that she intends to scold Belle properly. She resolves to give her sister a taste of her own medicine. Lord Riley warmly observes how resilient she has become. She smiles back and asks if he truly thinks so. Her composure gives him complete confidence in her strength. Belle enters the audience room dressed in elaborate fine clothes. Maria Belle and Lord Riley stand side by side awaiting her move. Maria Belle expresses her amazement at Belle, while Lord Riley points out that her glamorous outfit hardly fits a recent kidnap victim. Belle puts on a confused act and asks if Maria Belle was her older sister. She claims to recall that Maria Belle was disowned after making a mistake. She then weakly apologizes for forgetting the exact details. Maria Belle unshakably dismisses the apology and inquires if Belle was unharmed during her alleged ordeal. Taken aback by Maria Belle's calm reaction, Belle stammers nervously as she tries to maintain her lie. Trying to maintain the ruse, Belle nervously asks if anything terrible happened to her while she was kidnapped. Maria looks on with confusion at the mention of such awful treatment. When pressed about whether she was tied up with ropes, Maria hesitantly confirms it. She silently criticizes Kara for failing to prepare answers for these specific questions. Maria proposes talking about their childhood around the time their mother passed away to help refresh her memory. She asks if they should discuss their past together. She points out that it was when their mother died. She meant how their fathers and servants were busy arranging the funeral back then. As younger Belle wept for her mother, Maria could only stand by helplessly in sadness. She asked her sister what was wrong, but something else was going on. Her mother's death meant everyone stopped showering attention on her. Belle gasps as Maria confronts her directly. She points out that losing everyone's focus angered her far more than losing her mother. She adds that this envy drove her outburst. Maria reflects that their father and servants began spoiling her sister from that exact moment. She looks away thoughtfully while reflecting on the past. She realizes her sister's charm magic must have manifested around that period. Silence falls as Maria continues her explanation. Belle doubts the story and asks if the roles were actually reversed. She wonders if Maria is remembering things wrong. Maria then offers to tell her what happened next. Maria asserts that her sister took every single thing in person away from her. She questions if it happened simply because her sister was considered cute. Belle eagerly agrees, proudly stating that it was because of her cuteness. Maria retorts that her supposed cuteness was merely the work of charm magic. Belle vehemently denies using magic, so Maria asks if someone told her that or if her memories are returning. Belle freezes in shock as the truth hits her. Maria asks if her sister is slowly regaining her memories. Belle stammers in panic, trying to deny it. She stumbles over her words, completely unable to answer clearly. Defensively, Belle insists she will remember more if they praise her, though she stammers that it is hard to do around Prince Riley. Maria plainly asks her sister what she means by that statement. Belle accuses her of fearing she will steal the prince away, but Maria flatly rejects such a foolish idea. Beeks chimes in, remarking that Crown Prince Riley would never draw the short straw by picking Belle. Belle recoils at the insult, while Maria calmly notes that her sister seems to have forgotten her past behavior. Maria reminds her that she constantly used charm magic to cause trouble for everyone around her. Maria states that she was always the one cleaning up Belle's messes. She points out that Belle never offered any help in return. Instead, her sister simply assumed that everyone naturally adored her. Beeks adds that no prince would ever choose someone who thinks only of herself. Belle grimaces in frustration, unable to refute their sharp words. Maria wonders aloud if people stopped fawning over Belle once she moved out of the house. Belle twitches in fury as the painful truth hits home. Maria observes that her comment clearly struck a nerve with her stunned sister. Maria reflects on how her own uncontrolled magic had continuously amplified Belle's charm magic in the past. Desperate, Belle begs her sister to tell her how to restore things to how they used to be. Maria answers that she does know how to fix things. However, she points out that Belle no longer has her memories. She suggests her sister should simply start over from scratch and enjoy the present. Belle glares back with rising indignation as Maria turns away. Belle angrily accuses Maria of dodging the question and demands that she reveal the answer right now. She pleads desperately with Maria, admitting she just wants to be loved like before. Belle plots that once her charm returns, she will captivate Beeks again and steal Crown Prince Riley away. Maria glances over at her sister with a cool, knowing look. Belle leans in closely, unaware that Maria is onto her scheme. As Belle flinches in confusion, Maria bluntly asks if her sister ever lost her memories at all. Belle freezes in shock as her fake memory loss scheme is exposed. Caught off guard, Belle gasps in shock as all her memories suddenly flood back. She lets out a startled scream and cowers before her sister. Maria merely smiles sweetly, expressing relief that she finally remembers everything. Then her tone turns stern as she prepares to deliver her verdict. Maria commands Belle to leave immediately and enter a convent without causing trouble. Riley praises Maria for handling the situation with total composure. She wonders if she was too harsh, but he assures her she was entirely justified. Maria hopes this experience encourages her sister to reflect and become a better person. She agrees that Belle should temporarily return to Duke Carax's estate first. Kara excitedly greets Belle as soon as the carriage arrives. She asks if the return trip means her scheme against Riley succeeded. Her enthusiasm grows as she demands full details about the plot. However, she falters when Belle remains completely silent. A bystander assumes Belle is simply exhausted, though her quiet demeanor lingers unnaturally. Kara turns back to her servants and orders everyone to work even harder. Her subordinates cheer eagerly in response to her command. Kara beams with delight at how well her scheme to reach Riley is progressing. She celebrates that all her preparations and payments have finally paid off. Her excitement reaches its peak as she envisions total victory. She loudly announces a grand celebration tonight, while Belle stands quietly in the shadows. The scene opens with a view of a grand palace estate. Kyra sternly refuses to compromise. Belle cries out in protest, refusing to be sent away to a convent. While Belle wails in the background, Kara finds the whole situation deeply troublesome. Kara laments that her entire plan is ruined after Belle's return. She angrily declares Belle completely useless for failing to produce any results. Suddenly, a servant rushes in to report that palace knights have arrived demanding Belle. Kara cold-heartedly orders them to hand her over while Belle panics in refusal. Refusing to rot away in a convent, Belle makes a desperate run for it. She glances back anxiously as she flees down the corridor. She bursts through the exit doors to make her escape. Belle tries to reassure herself with her charm magic, but she suddenly screeches in shock. Outside, an official royal carriage and guards await her. Belle shrieks upon seeing someone unexpected waiting inside. Sonia politely instructs Belle to take a seat beside her for the escort. The carriage sets off on its journey. Sonia mentions how rumors about Maria spread quickly, which Belle sarcastically feigns pity over. Sonia calls out her fake concern and reveals everyone knows Belle spread those rumors, shocking her. Belle realizes why Kara was furious with her and fumes over nothing going her way. Sonia's blunt advice to start using her head for once leaves Belle utterly offended. Belle explodes in rage at Sonia's insult, accusing Maria of ordering Sonia to humiliate her. Sonia suddenly cuts her off with a stern call. Sonia leans in close to intimidate Belle directly. Sonia fixes Belle with a terrifying glare and warns her never to insult Maria, silencing her completely. Terrified, Belle apologizes for spreading false rumors about Maria and Sonia accepts her apology. Satisfied, Sonia hands her a mysterious necklace that Belle admits she has never seen before. Sonia suggests the necklace will prove useful at the convent and asks her to step closer, leaving Belle to nervously stammer her thanks. Meanwhile, Sonia's intense glare leaves Belle thoroughly unnerved. Terrified by Sonia's intimidating presence, Belle panics, fearing she could be killed at any second. Overwhelmed by fear, she realizes she must get away from Sonia as quickly as possible. After arriving at the convent, Belle immediately complains about how old and shabby the building looks and demands to go home. Seeing her outburst, a nun calmly asks Belle to settle down. Belle angrily yells at the nun not to speak so casually to a noble, but the nun replies that no social classes exist here. The nun adds that everyone residing at the convent lives together as equals. Disgusted by the idea, Belle refuses to live alongside commoners and insults the awful food. She continues to complain petulantly while the nun gently addresses her. The nun gently mentions hearing about Belle using charm magic to harm others, offering reassurance that it is not too late to reform. Belle rudely snaps at the nun to be quiet before trailing off in silence. Glaring in frustration, Belle continues to seethe in her new surroundings. Demanding privacy, Belle shouts at the nun to get out of her sight. She promises not to cause trouble as long as her meals are lavish. She insists that she deserves only the finest treatment. The nun apologetically explains that she cannot leave because they share the room. Outraged, Belle screams in disbelief upon learning she will not get a private quarters. The nun nervously stammers that this is simply how things work at the convent. She tries to keep the peace while feeling overwhelmed. Finally, she pleads with Belle to stop shouting so loudly. Muttering in disgust about her horrible luck, Belle then rudely insults the nun's filthy skirt. Ignoring the sleepy nun's exhaustion, Belle threatens her with dire consequences if she disobeys. She demands that the nun perform all her daily chores for her instead. Later, Belle walks through the hall while still fuming over her situation. The nun approaches her to ask if they can speak for a moment, prompting Belle to snap back defensively. The nun sternly warns Belle that she will report her unpleasant attitude directly to Sonia if she continues behaving this way. Belle freezes in shock as Sonia's threat hangs over her. Panicking, Belle demands to know why the nun would ever consider doing such a thing to her. The nun calmly reveals that Sonia instructed them to contact her immediately if Belle badmouths Maria or refuses to cooperate. Hearing that Sonia also warned Maria is coming to fix her attitude, Belle panics at the thought of facing her sister and frantically mutters in frustration. She grows furious as her charm magic continues to fail on everyone around her. Suddenly, she wonders if the necklace is actually sealing away her magical powers. That would explain why the accessory refuses to come off no matter how hard she pulls. When an attendant threatens to call Lady Sonia, Belle vehemently yells at her to stop. Belle cries out that Sonia looks ready to murder her if she gets angry. Her attendant gently suggests that Sonia is upset because Belle insulted Lady Maria Belle. Belle stands frozen in speechlessness as a dark shadow falls over her face. Belle rants furiously that everyone only ever talks about Maria Belle. She demands to know why her sister receives all the love and admiration. Suddenly, she suspects that Maria Belle might secretly possess powerful charm magic of her own. She vows that even without charm magic, she will never lose to her sister. Meanwhile, the Grand Royal Castle stands tall as tension continues to build. In cat form, Maria Belle meows happily while feeling completely restored. She declares herself an angel of the cat kingdom who brings total healing. With a playful squeak, she enjoys being pampered by those around her. Figo warmly thanks her for transforming on his birthday, even if it was unnecessary. He remarks that few know the Crown Prince's magic, yet Maria Belle gladly turned into a cat to heal others. Figo pauses thoughtfully as the conversation turns toward their companion. Crown Prince Riley asks whether Sonia would ever consider doing something similar. Maria Belle meows cheerfully in response to their chatter. Prince Riley bets that Sonia would actually agree to it. Figo doubts it, pointing out that Sonia dislikes him for using charm magic. Prince Riley chuckles that the two do not actually hate each other and calls Figo hopelessly oblivious. Figo gushes over how cute Maria Belle is and expresses a desire to keep her as a pet. Prince Riley glares silently before asking if he misheard that outrageous claim. As Figo squeezes the cat tight in adoration, Maria Belle wheezes that he is holding her far too tightly. Moments later, a figure quietly steps back from the sofa where they were all gathered. The rest of the companions settle down together on the couch in cozy silence. Stepping in during a quick break, Crown Prince Riley asks what is wrong. Figo offers to lend Maria to him briefly, but Crown Prince Riley snaps that she is not his to lend. Unfazed, Figo gushes over how adorable her cat paws are while Maria sits quietly in her feline form. As Figo addresses Lord Riley, the prince enthusiastically demands agreement about her cuteness. Embarrassed by her outfit, Maria pleads for him to stop staring. She lets out a startled meow as she loses her composure. Returning to human form, Maria deeply apologizes for her behavior while she was a cat. She explains it was purely instinct, prompting Riley to apologize for his own rudeness as well. Maria adds that turning into a cat somehow melts away all rational thought. Crown Prince Riley shifts the conversation by asking if she has heard about Belle. Maria confirms that Lady Sonia informed her about all the trouble her sister caused. She offers an apology on Belle's behalf. Riley reassures her not to apologize, as Belle no longer has anything to do with her. Maria agrees quietly with his assessment. Riley notes that Belle is in the convent now and cannot cause further trouble. Still, Maria admits that everything still feels surreal to her. However, Riley cautions that there are still loose ends that need addressing. He reveals that he visited Duke Kirek's estate earlier that morning. Disguised with transformation magic, he directly questioned Kiera about her involvement in Belle's disappearance. Kiera vehemently denied any responsibility for the incident. She claimed she simply dismissed Belle and sent her off before she vanished. She even insisted she worried about whether the girl was still alive. As Maria nods, Riley explains that Kiera will keep quiet without solid proof. Riley pivots to discussing false rumors spreading about Maria, only to be interrupted by frantic shouting. Beeks frantically asks if Maria Belle is doing well. He wonders aloud if she feels lonely without seeing him. Riley dryly responds that nobody knows. Beeks begs for a single meeting, convinced that Maria Belle desperately wants to return to him. Maria listens quietly as Riley recounts his encounter with Beeks. He adds that Beeks was in noticeably terrible shape during their interaction. Maria marvels in disbelief at how delusionally Beeks is thinking. She makes it clear that she has no intention of ever reuniting. She worries he will never stop pursuing her until they meet face to face. Resolving to use this chance, Maria decides she will extract the truth about Erbel's fake kidnapping from him. She informs Crown Prince Riley of her plan to meet directly with Beeks. He asks if she is truly sure about that choice. Maria explains that she wants to stop Beeks from stalking her and ease Crown Prince Riley's worries, resolving to settle the matter once and for all. Crown Prince Riley gazes at her affectionately and speaks her name. His eyes fixate on her with intense tenderness. He slowly closes his eyes as if letting his guard down. Maria asks in surprise as he suddenly leans closer to her. Crown Prince Riley rests his head against her shoulder and holds her close. Maria wonders if something is wrong, but Crown Prince Riley reassures her that he is just happy. She repeats his words, bewildered by his sudden softness. He relaxes completely while resting against her on the sofa. Crown Prince Riley mutters that he is feeling tired. He immediately begins snoring softly. Maria reacts in utter shock to see him fall asleep so fast. Maria gently notes how hard he works every single day. She reaches out to touch his soft hair as he slumbers peacefully. She tenderly plants a kiss on his forehead. Maria determines to do her absolute best as well. Inside the mansion, a butler rushes in excitedly to find Lady Kayla. He shouts out Lady Kayla's name as he bursts into the room. He excitedly announces that a letter from Maria Belle has just arrived. Lady Kayla eagerly asks what the letter says. They gather around to inspect the unexpected message together. The letter briefly summons Beeks to the palace to talk. Beeks rejoices, convinced that Maria Belle has not forgotten about him after all. Lady Kayla praises him and urges him to win back Maria Belle's heart. She vows to ensure Crown Prince Riley chooses her this time. Beeks vows to apologize properly and promise never to abandon Maria Belle again. Lady Kayla shocks him by promising to release him from his butler duties once that happens. She scolds him for trying to go looking like a mess. He is about to make the biggest confession of his life. She orders him to go dress in his absolute best clothes. Beeks expresses his deep gratitude to Lady Kayla for her unexpected consideration. She reminds him that he will owe her forever for this favor. He prepares to meet his former fiancé with renewed hope. Maria Belle stands firmly in her dress, resolved to face her past once and for all. Maria Belle explains that she is wearing the dress from when Beeks threw her away. She wants to face him looking like this to end things completely. Crown Prince Riley asks if she is truly sure about wearing that outfit. She worries the dress is childish, but Crown Prince Riley assures her it clearly conveys her feelings. Crown Prince Riley promises to stay nearby while she speaks. He encourages her to speak her mind freely to Beeks. Maria Belle nervously agrees and prepares herself for the meeting. They walk together through the garden toward the designated meeting location. Beeks calls out Maria Belle's name as soon as he spots her approaching. He thanks her for meeting him, and she calmly inquires how he has been doing. Beeks admits he has been emotionally broken ever since everything happened with Erbel. He goes on to apologize to Maria, acknowledging how troublesome Erbel was and expressing regret for the pain caused. Maria tells him not to apologize, since breaking off their engagement allowed her to meet Lord Riley. Beeks freezes in place, completely taken aback by her response. Maria turns away coldly from him as they stand in the garden. She reminds him that he was the one who dumped her, leaving him confused as he expected a reconciliation. Maria looks him dead in the eye and addresses him directly. She firmly states that she has no intention of reconciling with him. Beeks gasps in complete shock. Beeks begs her to calm down and listen to him. He insists he was under the influence of Erbel's charm magic all along. Because of that spell, all he could think about was marrying Erbel. Maria gazes back at him with a composed and unbothered expression. Maria quietly asks him a serious question. She wonders if he would still pursue her if she were a mere commoner instead of a crown princess candidate. Beeks stammers nervously as he tries to find an excuse. He asks if she understands his predicament but hesitates to answer directly. Beeks admits his parents might disapprove if she were a commoner, but dismisses it since she is an earl's daughter. Maria reminds him that she was disowned and living as a commoner when she begged him for help. She gazes at him, her quiet gaze cutting right through his excuses. She tells him that she finally moved on when he chose to ignore her back then. Beeks gasps as her words sink in. He stammers in disbelief at her cold dismissal. Maria adds that what hurt her most was how he and Erbel laughed at her misery together after breaking their engagement. Beeks desperately protests, blaming Erbel and Lady Kayla for instigating his actions. Maria coldly asks him what difference that makes now. To her, his betrayal remains exactly the same regardless of who prompted it. Marie turns away from him with absolute finality. Beeks calls out her name in a frantic apology. Maria points out that even without magic, he would simply fall for someone else and betray her again. She refuses to give him another chance to hurt her. Losing his composure, Beeks shouts that he does not care about her royal status and genuinely loves her. He wildly claims that she would be much happier with him than with the crown prince. He desperately screams at her to come back to him. He stands stunned as Maria gazes at him with an unyielding expression. She offers him a distant smile while preparing to break all ties. Beeks stammers in utter confusion at her sudden chill, but Maria shuts him down without hesitation, declaring firmly that she will never forgive him. Her harsh words cut deep as she tells Beeks directly that she hates him. Maria stands her ground with a cold, resolute gaze after rejecting him. Beeks stares in shock, utterly stunned by her cold declaration. He drops to his knees on the stone floor in complete defeat. Turning her back on him completely, Maria bids him a final goodbye. Maria steps back into the hallway, leaving her past behind. Crown Prince Riley notices her return and catches her as she stumbles. Leaning against his chest for support, she listens as Riley softly calls her name. Riley gently asks if she is all right, but she initially stays silent. Maria quietly confesses that confronting him was actually a little scary for her. Riley reflects thoughtfully on how much courage it truly takes to reject someone. He commends Maria for facing her troubles all on her own. Maria agrees warmly as she holds him close in relief. Later, Maria reflects on the recent incident involving Lady Kayla and Beeks's family, which was settled quietly using financial compensation, though she feels unsatisfied because Duke Kirik forced the arrangement through. Still, she takes comfort in having one less worry on her mind. She steps out into the bright sunlight outside her room. Maria marvels at waking up feeling so refreshed for once. With no magic practice scheduled today, she decides to take a stroll around the palace. Suddenly, something below catches her eye. She leans over the balcony railing to look closer. She stops as she spots someone standing in the courtyard below. Maria recognizes Tekka standing in the courtyard. She notices two adults standing beside him who seem to be his parents. They appear to be arguing heatedly, leaving Maria confused about what is happening. Suddenly, Tekka turns and runs away in distress. Maria worries that something terrible happened after seeing him crying. She decides to hurry after him to offer her help. She rushes down the Grand Palace staircase. She searches around the corner for where he went. Maria spots Tekka standing alone on the staircase landing. She approaches him gently and offers a warm greeting. She looks compassionately at Tekka as he calls out her name in distress. She suspects that the people Tekka encountered earlier must have said something awful to him. Maria gently encourages him to confide in her about what happened, adding that talking about it might make him feel a little better. Tekka thanks her warmly for her kindness. However, he hesitates to share his burden with her. He worries that telling her the truth will only make Lady Maria Belle feel uncomfortable. Maria Belle reacts with surprise at his hesitation. The room falls quiet as they settle in together. They sit opposite each other at a small tea table in the ornate room. Tekka sits quietly at the table holding his teacup. He takes a gentle sip of his tea while trying to calm his nerves. Tekka hesitates before bringing up what happened earlier in the courtyard. Maria Belle asks if the two adults walking with him were his parents. He quietly confirms that they were. Tekka apologizes for her witnessing their argument in public. He admits that he and his parents do not get along at all. Maria Belle notes she heard Tekka had a strained relationship with his family. Still, she never expected them to confront him directly at the palace. Tekka explains that his older brother and sister are both exceptionally talented. Because of that, his parents constantly compare him to them and brand him a failure. Maria Belle protests, reminding him of his incredible memory-erasing magic. Tekka reveals kept his magic secret from his family so they wouldn't exploit him. Maria Belle is appalled that parents would treat a child as a mere tool. She declares that such behavior is utterly unforgivable. Tekka hesitates as he prepares to share the worst part of their demand. He reveals that his parents ordered him to introduce his sister to Crown Prince Riley. He bursts out that they actually want him to act as a matchmaker between them. Maria Belle stands completely stunned by the shocking scheme. Riley shares a sweet, gentle moment alongside Maria Belle. Maria Belle recounts how Tekka's parents demanded that he introduce his sister to His Highness. She adds that they even urged him to help arrange things between them. Tekka listens on, caught completely off guard. Tekka complains about how troublesome the arrangement is, so Maria Belle turns to address him directly. She suggests that Tekka simply ask Riley directly about introducing his sister. Maria Belle and Tekka continue their quiet conversation together. Maria Belle admits that she would not be entirely happy about the meeting. Tekka worries whether she would dislike the idea. She responds that Riley is the one who decides, placing full trust in him. Riley chuckles softly at how passionate she sounds. Tekka is surprised to see Riley arrive, but the prince calmly notes he just got there. Tekka wonders why the topic came up again, but Riley points out everyone should know he already has Maria Belle. Tekka explains that his parents are very forceful, which Riley easily understands. Maria Belle asks if Riley intends to meet her after all, but he flatly refuses. Riley insists he has no desire to meet her, doubting they could even hold a proper conversation. He admits his reluctance freely to them both. Still, he expects Tekka's parents will likely try contacting them again eventually. Riley promises to reconsider if Tekka gets put at a disadvantage, earning Tekka's heartfelt thanks. Maria Belle marvels at how easily the matter was settled, deeply impressed by Riley's leadership. Maria Belle asks why Riley came by, and he reveals an important guest from the She's Kingdom arrives in 4 days. Riley explains that he was worried Maria Belle would end up all alone during the official audience. Maria Belle is touched by his concern and reassures him she will happily wait with some tea. The Grand Palace grounds stand quiet under the bright open sky. 4 days later, Riley prepares for the upcoming arrival of the royal guests. Meanwhile, Sister sits alone, admitting to herself that despite her brave words, she feels deeply lonely. She wishes she had simply been honest and asked someone to stay with her. She gasps quietly as someone catches her eye. She lets out a weary sigh, wishing the gathering would wrap up soon. Across the courtyard, an elegant figure catches her attention. Sister wonders if the beautiful person across the way is a guest. She reminds herself that as future crown princess, she must learn to memorize guests' names and faces. A panicked maid rushes over to Sister, prompting her to ask what happened. The maid reports that the visiting prince of the Shi's kingdom has suddenly gone missing nearby. Sister gasps in shock at the alarming news. The maids fret nervously about the prince's safety. Sister immediately offers to help search the grounds for him. Sister notes how strange it is for someone to disappear so abruptly. The maid explains that she was escorting the prince directly to his quarters. She describes how he vanished in an instant right before her eyes. Another maid listens in total bewilderment. Sister reassures them that he must be somewhere close by and encourages everyone to keep searching. The maid eagerly agrees. Sister considers that she should have seen him if he vanished nearby, wondering if he used concealment magic. She pauses, spotting something unusual on the ground ahead. A maid calls out to check on Sister from a distance. Sister comes across a pile of fine clothes discarded on the floor. She wonders in confusion why someone left their garments behind. She notices a rustle in the nearby foliage and peers closer. Sister stares at the creature in disbelief, wondering if it is actually a tanuki. She recoils in utter shock as the realization hits her. A worried maid frantically warns Sister to step back before the wild animal bites her. The maid lets out a startled scream as the creature darts past her. Figo rushes over to check on Sister, concerned for her safety. As Maria Belle wonders what is happening, the maid apologizes for failing to capture the animal. Observing the strange creature, the maid notes how exceptionally fond it seems of Maria Belle. She wonders aloud if the animal might already belong to someone. Another maid calls out to ask what everyone is gathering around. Maria Belle looks up and recognizes Figo approaching them. Figo greets them with a warm smile. He explains that he is off duty as a body double today. Maria Belle nods as she understands his situation. The maids urgently call on Figo for help with the unexpected creature. They explain that they have no idea how to handle the situation. Figo glances down in mild surprise at the animal. He bends over to inspect the cute raccoon-like creature right up close. Maria Belle gasps in sudden astonishment at his reaction. Figo gushes over how adorable the animal is, prompting the maid to remark on his love for cute creatures. He raises his hands as magical light begins to glow around the creature. Soft sparkles envelope the animal while Figo carefully casts his spell. Maria Belle asks what kind of spell he just performed. Figo clarifies that it was purification magic. He explains it was necessary to protect everyone in case the animal carried any diseases. Figo wonders if they should dispose of the animal instead. Maria Belle quickly points out that it poses no danger to anyone. She gently beckons the creature to come closer to her. The fluffy creature stares up at her with big endearing eyes. Holding the adorable creature in her arms, Maria Belle wonders aloud what they should do next. Maria Belle plans to ask Crown Prince Riley for permission to keep the animal after their guests leave. Figo enthusiastically agrees with her idea. He encourages her to go ahead with the plan. Figo suddenly pauses and asks if they forgot something important, triggering the maid to remember the search for the prince. When Figo expresses surprise that the prince is still missing, the maid apologizes for getting distracted by the animal. Figo admits he assumed Crown Prince Riley had already been escorted back to his room. He offers to join the search party to find him. He instructs the maid to escort Maria Belle safely to her room while the maid obediently complies. The maid apologizes for not being able to assist any further, but Sister reassures her and tells her not to worry. The maid then suggests they head straight to Sister's room. Before leaving, Sister points out the clothes lying discarded on the ground and asks the maid to clean them up. The maid agrees while staring at the garments in total confusion. She tilts her head, wondering why those clothes were left behind. When the maid asks if anything happened, Sister assures her that it is nothing to worry about. Sister quickly urges her to lead the way to her private room. Once inside, Sister warmly welcomes the raccoon-like creature into her room. She gasps in surprise when the creature refuses to let her put it down. Sister apologizes that her arms are tired and sets it down, remarking on how cute it is, just as Figo said. Sister notices that the little creature appears to be sulking. The creature suddenly turns away and leaps towards a high cabinet. It expertly lands right on top of the wooden surface. Sister calls out in surprise, warning the creature not to climb on the table. She pauses in bewilderment as the creature grabs a writing utensil. Sister watches in astonishment as the creature starts writing something down. She initially wonders if it is drawing, but quickly realizes it is attempting to form letters. Sister admits that she cannot make any sense of the strange scribbles. She asks if it wants to write in human language and gasps when it actually nods. Sister exclaims in shock upon realizing the creature truly understands human speech. She decides to test its intelligence further with another request. Sister instructs the small creature to spin around in a circle. She cheers with delight as the creature obediently spins around for her. Sister enthusiastically asks if it can perform a dance next. Sister ponders how an ordinary animal could possibly comprehend human words. She wonders if it was transformed by magic, startling the small creature. Sister wonders if Lord Riley himself could have been transformed into this creature. She ponders the strange possibility of him standing right in front of her. However, she reassures herself that Figo would have definitely noticed such a change. Sister directly asks the creature if it is capable of returning to its original form. Instead of answering, the small raccoon-like creature gazes back at her intently. It suddenly scampers across the room toward the bed. Sister shouts in surprise and rushes over to stop the little animal. She watches nervously as it jumps onto the bed and wonders what it is doing. Panicking, she wonders what to do as the situation spirals out of control. She stares in complete disbelief, unable to comprehend what is unfolding before her. She backs away nervously, declaring that she will keep her distance over by the side. Suddenly, the bedding begins to wriggle and rustle unnaturally. The bed covers bulge dramatically as a bright transformation begins to take shape. A sharp pair of eyes opens amidst the shifting magic. A dense cloud of magical smoke bursts forth, filling the entire bedroom. Maria Belle opens her eyes wide in total shock as a shadow emerges from the smoke. Fell smiles warmly as he greets Maria Belle after regaining his human form. Maria Belle gasps out his name in sheer astonishment upon recognizing him. Maria reacts in total shock, demanding to know why Fell is standing inside her room. He flashes a handsome smile while she gazes back in utter bewilderment. She insists that she is living happily now and begs him to leave her alone. Maria recalls that Fell was a baron's son during their school days. He was her former classmate at the academy. Moreover, he was immensely popular with everyone. However, he teased her constantly back then, making her feel uneasy around him. Shaking off those unpleasant memories, she quickly tries to refocus on the present. She then asks why he is present since he was not among the palace guests today. Phil teasingly calls her slow, revealing that he is actually the second prince of Fraise. He explains that he hid his royal status to avoid intimidating other students. Revealing his true identity back then would have terrified everyone. Maria quietly acknowledges that his reasoning makes sense. Fell admits his own surprise while Maria explains her role as Rayleigh's crown princess candidate. Fell asks if the chosen girl was supposed to be Maria Belle Tial. Maria clarifies that she was adopted into her uncle's family, which changed her surname. Fell nods along, realizing how everything fits together. He then pauses, looking at their current awkward situation. He steps forward inappropriately in his unclad state. Maria panics, shouting at him not to come any closer. Fell teasingly asks if it wouldn't look terrible if Riley caught them like this. Pointing at his clothes on the floor, Maria insists they belong to him. She demands that he hurry up and put them on immediately. Fell chuckles, calling her bold for expecting him to change right before her eyes. Maria yells at him to hurry up and stop teasing her like always. She fumes internally at his relentless, mischievous behavior. Turning around quickly, she promises not to look while he dresses. She stands facing away from him with her eyes tightly closed. Maria realizes that Fell has not changed at all since their academy days. She suspects his animal transformation magic is just another one of his elaborate pranks. Yet a lingering doubt still remains in her mind. Sonia notes that this might be her first time seeing his magic in person. She promises not to probe into its activation conditions, worrying enemy factions might exploit the secret, while Fell recalls turning into a beast earlier. He then admits that he does not even know the conditions for his own magic. Maria reacts with complete astonishment at his surprising admission. Fell explains that he normally uses a magical tool to suppress his power before entering the royal palace. Maria admits she has seen plenty of magic, yet his still feels remarkably profound. Fell asks her why she suddenly fell silent. Fell presents his new clothes once he finishes changing. Maria questions if he is truly done dressing. She screams in surprise when he pops up right in front of her. Maria realizes he truly is a prince while Fell playfully teases her for doubting him. Fell teasingly asks if she has fallen for him again, but Maria fiercely rejects the idea. Fell sighs lightly that her harsh rejection is quite a shame. He remarks that being a crown princess candidate sounds rough, leaving Maria bewildered. Maria defends Prince Riley and insists that she is completely content with her situation. Fell points out she only became a candidate because Riley likes her one-sidedly. Fell asks her directly if she has been brainwashed by the prince. Maria angrily yells at him to stop twisting things and jumping to conclusions like he always does. Fell smiles warmly and suddenly confesses that he likes Maria Belle. Maria gasps in shock at his unexpected confession of affection. She blushes deeply as she reflects that no one has ever said such words to her before. The prince smirks at her reaction, guessing that Riley has never voiced such a direct confession to her. Blushing deeply at his probing words, she quietly insists that Riley's feelings always reach her even without words. Flustered, she tells him that it is none of his business, but he merely smirks in response. Suddenly, Crown Prince Riley calls out to Maria Belle from the doorway. Riley steps into the room and demands to know who she is with. Maria turns in surprise, startled to see Prince Fell confronting the unexpected visitor. Fell casually greets the Crown Prince with a cheerful wave. Riley immediately checks on Maria, asking if Fell did anything to harm her. Riley sternly scolds Fell for being in another man's fiancé's room, though Maria quickly reassures him that nothing happened. Fell mockingly remarks that jealousy is not a good look on the Crown Prince. He playfully adds that getting so worked up will only give him wrinkles. Fell explains that he and Maria are just old schoolmates reminiscing, brushing off Riley's irritation as no big deal. Riley's glare remains cold and unimpressed as he stares down Fell. Fell turns away with a smirk, satisfied after teasing the Crown Prince. Fell excuses himself for his audience with their majesties, telling them not to overdo their lovers' quarrel. Fell walks out of the room, leaving the door open behind him. Riley turns his full attention to Maria, demanding to know what her exact relationship with Fell is. Maria hesitates as she tries to explain the complicated situation. Riley watches her intently, waiting for her answer. Maria explains that Fell was a former school friend who hid his royal identity from her. She confesses that she brought the creature into her room without realizing it was the prince in disguise. Hearing this, Riley nods as he finally understands the full story. Maria insists that nothing untoward happened between them, and Riley gently assures her that he never doubted her. Riley firmly declares that Maria Belle is going to be his wife. He then sternly warns that he will never forgive Phil if the prince ever dares to hurt her. Maria quickly reassures him that Phil would do no such thing, adding tenderly that she could never betray him. She feels deeply cherished, knowing his love is clear even without explicit words. Riley then asks if Phil mentioned anything besides his beast transformation magic, but Maria denies it. He notes that Phil never mentioned using such magic back in their academy days, leaving Maria silent. Sensing her sudden quietness, he wonders aloud if he made things awkward between them. Riley worries he said something strange, while Maria reflects on how well the two used to get along in school. When asked if something is wrong, Riley quickly brushes it off as nothing. Maria nods thoughtfully and asks if he finished his business. She wonders what is behind this sudden uneasy feeling. Riley confirms he finished, but explains he needs to clarify something about his recent meeting with Duke Beaton's daughter. Maria asks if something happened with that noblewoman while Riley hesitates in somber silence. She remembers Duke Beaton's daughter as the lady she previously greeted in the courtyard. Riley sighs heavily and realizes he must explain the situation, startling Maria with his serious tone. He asks her to listen without getting angry first. Then he reveals that Duke Beaton's daughter is actually his former fiancé. Maria gasps in complete shock at his sudden confession. He explains that it happened back when they were young. The woman possessed charm magic and secretly cast a spell on him. As a result, they ended up promising to marry. Luckily, his parents noticed his strange behavior and promptly annulled the engagement. He thought it was all in the past. Yet the woman surprisingly brought up their engagement again today. Surprised by how forceful she was, Riley wonders if she used charm magic on him once more. However, she flatly refused to approve his marriage to Maria, threatening to use Maria's sister to cause trouble. Maria shrinks back in disbelief at the cruel plot. Riley tries to reassure her that this alone will not force them to break their engagement. Still, he wants to tell the truth before exaggerated rumors spread among the nobles. His main concern is that baseless gossip might end up hurting Maria deeply. Maria absorbs his words silently, trying to process everything. Looking at her gently, he asks to confirm her true feelings once more. He asks if she possesses the resolve to stand at his side as empress and face whatever comes. She hesitates in silence, carefully processing his intense proposal. Riley awaits her response with a serious expression. Maria reflects that her past self would have felt forced to agree immediately. She knows that lacking resolve might prompt Riley to call off their engagement. However, her feelings are no longer driven by desperation. She internally realizes that simply obeying out of obligation is not what she truly desires. Maria apologizes to Riley in case her hesitation made him feel uneasy. She passionately declares that she possesses full resolve and cannot imagine marrying anyone else. She admits that coming to the palace was originally her only path forward. She emphasizes that this was the plain truth at the beginning. Riley listens silently to her candid confession. Maria explains that creating wonderful memories together made her genuinely wish to marry him. A chibi vision illustrates her determination to stand firm alongside him. She asserts that having Riley on her side gives her courage. She vows that she will never be defeated. Riley softly mutters her name in response. She insists she will not let a wicked noblewoman rule the empire and is fully prepared. Maria boldly promises that she will protect Riley as well. She questions the point of letting rival men swarm around them. She whimsically suggests enhancing Kaira's charm magic instead. That way, every other nobleman will swarm around Kaira instead. Flustered, Maria asks if she sounded strange, but Riley chuckles and calls her amusing. Coughing awkwardly, she tries to quickly move past her eccentric comment. Maria firmly reiterates that her main point is refusing to lose to Duke Kirik's daughter. She boasts that having survived countless hardships, nothing terrifies her anymore. Riley warmly agrees with her, affirming every word she just said. Pouting cutely, Maria begs him not to laugh at her earnest speech. She earnestly assures him that meeting him has allowed her to grow much stronger. She confidently declares that no future hardship will ever shake or trouble her again. Watching silently from behind the foliage, Belle emits a thoughtful hum. High in the garden trees, a tiny bird perches quietly among bright spring blossoms. Maria turns toward Prince Riley, mentioning that someone recently confessed their feelings to her. She explains that her suitor was the second prince of a distant realm. She quickly reassures him that she rejected the offer because Riley is the one who truly matters to her. Prince Riley listens in quiet surprise, taking in her earnest words. Gazing up at him, she directly asks what he really thinks of her. She presses him to say out loud that he loves her, wanting clear confirmation of his affection. Prince Riley blushes and softly begins to declare his love for her. Maria jolts awake in her bed, suddenly realizing it was all just a vivid dream. Sitting up in bed, she clutches her chest as angel figures of Belle and Riley linger in her mind. Frustrated with herself, Maria lets out an annoyed sigh. She complains about how needy and annoying her dream self acted toward Riley. Recalling how she demanded to know his feelings, she laments that she keeps having these exact dreams. She reflects that deep down she must feel unsatisfied with where their relationship currently stands. Stepping out of bed, she walks thoughtfully across her room. Phil's previous remark lingers in her mind, reminding her that Riley has never outright confessed his love to her. Looking in the mirror, Maria softly hesitates over her feelings. She admits to herself that she truly wants to hear Prince Riley say that he likes her. Her thoughts are interrupted as a maid cheerfully opens the door to greet her. They exchange cheerful morning greetings as everyone gathers in the room. Maria notes how many people have assembled, and her companion casually agrees. They explain that Prince Fail sent an invitation to a soiree which brought them all together. The group continues discussing their travel arrangements in the courtyard. Riley suggests tailoring a new dress for Maria Belle before they depart for the gathering. He asks Sonia to review various dress options for. Sonia promptly agrees to handle the preparations. Someone promises to report back once Tekka's situation is settled before stepping away. Maria overhears this and wonders what is going on with Tekka. Tekka points out Maria's puzzled expression to the prince. Riley realizes he needs to explain the situation to Maria Belle as well. They explain that the soiree takes place in the Sea's Kingdom, which happens to be Tekka's homeland. Tekka excitedly celebrates this chance to visit home. However, Maria remains concerned about Tekka's strict parents. Riley explains that Tekka's parents summoned him back home. He plans to accompany Tekka disguised in his child form. Meanwhile, Maria Belle is meant to rest at the inn. Maria hesitates at the arrangement. She asks if she can come along with them too. Maria admits she is genuinely worried about Tekka's situation. Someone chuckles, having expected Maria to react with such kindness. He turns to the prince to see if he agrees. Riley consents, suggesting Maria Belle join them in her cat form. Maria brightens up and expresses her sincere thanks. Maria wonders about Rayleigh's child transformation. She asks if it resembles his previous disguise at her home. Figo confirms this arrangement. He notes he will act as Rayleigh's body double as usual. Figo points out that his workload will increase significantly with these duties. He playfully demands plenty of time off from the prince in return. Someone asks if Heinz will be joining the group this time. Heinz explains he will scout the kingdom and handle official duties in the prince's place. Riley softly apologizes for causing everyone so much extra trouble. Riley concludes the morning strategy meeting. Riley instructs Figo to report everything to Sonia before they leave together. Figo nods in understanding and prepares to move out. Maria longs to speak with Prince Riley a bit longer. However, she decides not to disturb him while he is busy with work. Tekka approaches Maria Belle to speak with her privately. Tekka warmly thanks Maria for her concern regarding his parents. Maria gently responds to his gratitude. She then apologizes for being selfish when there is little she can actually do to help. She asks Tekka if he is all right, wondering if seeing his parents was painful for him. She gazes at him thoughtfully as memories of their past interactions cross her mind. Tekka remains quiet while listening intently to her gentle words. The warm atmosphere between them softens the weight of their earlier troubles. Maria realizes that both she and Tekka were saved by Prince Riley and their friends. However, Belle brightly rejects any lingering gloom with a cheerful smile. She proudly declares that everyone is here to support her. Afterward, a young man takes his leave to head off to his office work while Maria encourages him to do his best. She contemplates the upcoming night party where she will have to meet Fel again. Meeting him feels a bit awkward now, even though she does not hate him. She wonders how things will unfold between them. Suddenly, Fel's recent words flash through her mind, reminding her of his direct confession. Maria gasps in shock as his voice echoes vividly. She pants internally, wondering why she is remembering his affection right now. She had been trying so hard to push those thoughts away. Heinz watches her in silent surprise as she clutches her cheeks. Flustered, Maria startles and tries to assure Heinz that it is not what it looks like. Heinz chuckles warmly at her reaction. He asks if something is troubling her deeply. With a gentle smile, he offers to lend a listening ear to whatever is on her mind. Maria hesitates, admitting that it might be more of a confusion than a real problem. She wonders if speaking about it will help clear her mind. Perhaps Lord Heinz might actually be able to help her solve this dilemma. After listening to her story, Heinz smiles playfully and chuckles at the unexpected development. He remarks with a smirk that her situation sounds quite rough. Maria quickly pouts, suspecting that he is simply poking fun at her distress. She demands to know if he is taking her dilemma seriously. Heinz assures her that he would never tease her, claiming that he genuinely adores his romantic tales. Maria sighs in exasperation, resting her hands on her lap. Heinz points out how bold Prince Fail is for confessing to a woman who is already engaged. Maria quickly defends Fail, insisting that he was merely teasing her as he always has since their academy days. She adds that his personality has remained unchanged over the years. Heinz leans forward on the couch with a thoughtful look. He explains that men often behave that way when they harbor genuine feelings. They enjoy teasing the girl they like just to see how she reacts. Maria looks at him blankly, pondering the word reaction. Heinz asks if she did not get completely flustered when Prince Fail confessed his feelings to her. Maria is amazed at how easily Heinz reads her inner thoughts. She realizes he understands everything and wonders if she should share her strange dream as well. Gathering her courage, she mentions that there is one more thing troubling her. Heinz attentively prompts her to go ahead and tell him what it is. Maria explains that ever since that incident with Fail, she keeps having strange dreams. In those dreams, she finds herself pressuring Prince Rayleigh to tell her that he likes her. Because of these restless night thoughts, she has not been able to sleep well lately. Upon hearing this, Heinz dramatically sputters and drops to his knees in apology. Maria frets over his sudden collapse while Heinz declares that her purity is overwhelmingly adorable. She blushes in complete confusion at being called pure. Heinz quickly regains his composure and suggests that his happiness is also partly to blame for her dilemma. He asks if Prince Riley has ever given her a proper confession of love. He then slyly advises her to try pressuring the prince directly, just like she did in her dream. She hesitates at his advice, worried that demanding something so personal might make her seem annoying. Heinz firmly reassures her that the Crown Prince could never dislike her. She remains uncertain and asks why he feels so confident about that. He chuckles softly, explaining that anyone watching the prince can easily see it. He points out a fact she might not have realized yet. Maria gasps in sudden surprise. He reveals that the prince has never harbored romantic feelings for anyone besides her. Hines explains that Prince Riley is merely a complete novice when it comes to romance. He turns the question back to her, asking if she has ever confessed her own feelings. Maria pauses silently as the question catches her completely off guard. She begins to reflect back on all their past conversations together. She suddenly realizes in shock that she has never once told him how she feels. Hines chuckles at her mutual embarrassment over their unspoken feelings. He reassures her that such hesitation is completely natural for a young woman. He adds warmly that being a little selfish can actually be quite charming. He pauses for a moment to gather his thoughts carefully. He reminds her that genuine emotions can never reach someone unless spoken aloud. He encourages her to ask Rayleigh directly instead of worrying about it alone. Hines explains that her troubling dream stemmed entirely from anxiety over Riley's true feelings. He pours a specially blended herbal tea to help soothe her mind for sleep. Maria thanks him gratefully as she admires the pleasant aroma of the tea. Maria takes a calm breath while preparing to drink the hot herbal tea. Maria admits that she used to interpret things only in ways convenient for herself. She resolves that she truly wants to understand Prince Riley's feelings now. She also longs to share her own heart with him in return. She decides that it is perfectly fine for her to be a little selfish. The scene transitions to the day of the grand soiree held in C's kingdom. Maria sighs softly, disappointed that she could not find time alone with Prince Riley. Prince Riley approaches her and gently inquires if she is feeling tired. He asks what might be bothering her as he gazes at her with concern. Maria quickly stammers in surprise, insisting that nothing is wrong at all. She then admits to feeling nervous about her first trip abroad, and he agrees he feels the same way. He confesses that after everything that happened with Belle, he honestly preferred not to come. Realizing he feels just as anxious as she does, she recalls it has been a long time since his last expedition and resolves not to cause any trouble. An attendant formally greets Prince Riley and Maria upon their arrival. Maria gasps in awe as she takes in her grand surroundings. She notices how completely different this place feels compared to the royal palace. Riley explains that great effort went into hosting royalty from so many visiting nations. Maria agrees that the venue feels truly international and lively. Meanwhile, a nervous attendant worries about her upcoming duties. She desperately prays for Lady Sonia to return quickly from her assignment. Nearby, Maria tells Prince Riley that he is standing a bit too close to her. The prince looks surprised before quickly offering a soft apology. He then steps back slightly to give her some personal space. As Maria breathes a sigh of relief, Riley murmurs her name with deep affection. Suddenly, Belle appears out of nowhere and greets Maria warmly. Prince Riley glares at him and demands to know what he wants. Belle casually replies that he only came over to offer his greetings. He then playfully tells the prince to wipe that scary look off his face. Belle politely thanks both of them for attending the event today. Prince Riley stiffly offers thanks for the invitation. Maria can clearly tell that he is furious despite his polite facade. Belle interrupts before the conversation can settle down. Belle asks to speak with Maria in private, but Riley firmly orders him to speak right here. Belle acknowledges that Maria is the prince's fiancé. However, he cheekily asks if controlling her movements isn't going a bit too far. Maria gasps at his bold and accusatory remark. Maria gasps in disbelief, realizing Belle is openly provoking the prince. Prince Riley clenches his fist in fury, finding Belle's disrespect completely unforgivable. Maria steps forward and demands Belle take back his words, insisting nobody controls her. Belle asks if she was not coerced into becoming Riley's fiancé from the start. Maria angrily scolds Belle for dragging up that old misunderstanding again. She firmly reminds him that his assumptions are entirely false. Finally, she boldly declares that she truly wishes to marry Prince Riley. Belle teasingly asks if he should repeat his words like he did back then, leaving her gasping in shock and stammering to know what he means. Watching nearby, Prince Riley looks on gloomily, thinking he has never seen her make an expression like that before. Prince Riley quietly reflects on how mysterious Belle seems to him. He observes how richly her emotions flow between smiles and tears. Her expressive nature easily draws him in until he shares her feelings. Yet right now, something feels strangely different. Even looking at her cheerful smile, he finds himself unable to match her mood. Prince Riley stands alone in the majestic palace corridor, lost in thought. Belle suddenly steps forward and snaps at Belle to stop. She demands to know why he always acts this way, but Belle coolly questions what she means. Belle quietly excuses himself as he prepares to walk away. Prince Riley intervenes and urges Prince Belle to cease his behavior immediately. He reminds him that this castle belongs to his family after all. Such a scene could easily damage their reputation in front of the visiting foreign guests. Riley firmly adds that Belle is his official fiancé. Belle pauses in silence, listening to the Crown Prince's stern declaration. Belle addresses both Prince Riley and Lady Belle with a bowed head. He offers his sincere apologies for his earlier misconduct. Riley warns him that further persistence will force him to take his own measures. Belle offers a final polite request to be excused before departing. Prince Riley lets out a weary sigh as Belle hesitantly speaks up. Belle offers her sincere apology for causing such a commotion. Prince Riley gently reassures her not to worry about the scene. He realizes she was simply stepping in to protect him during the argument. She softly nods and expresses her heartfelt gratitude. An attendant arrives to announce that everything is now ready for them. Belle thanks Sonia for carrying the luggage, and Sonia replies that she was also scouting the area. Belle inquires if Sonia noticed anything unusual around the grounds. Sonia reassures her that nothing out of the ordinary occurred during her patrol. Suddenly, an enthusiastic voice calls out to address the Crown Prince directly. Tekka's parents greet them warmly and express their gratitude for looking after their son, surprising Belle. Sonia steps forward, ordering the couple to refrain from coming any closer. Drillby angrily asks if she implies they would harm the Crown Prince, while his wife calls the guard's suspicion extremely rude. The attendant holds her ground firmly in front of the royal presence as tension mounts. She clarifies that her vigilance is not directed solely at them. It is simply her duty to protect Prince Riley at all times. She urges the couple to understand her position. Drillb merely clicks his tongue in irritation. Sonia offers a polite apology, admitting she did not recognize them as guards in their fancy outfits. However, she questions whether wearing formal attire to a grand party is truly unusual. Drillb then turns his attention toward Belle with a false smile. He mockingly remarks that her presence was so faint he barely noticed her. Even so, he claims it is an honor to meet her. Belle listens quietly while keeping her composure. Drillba's mother notes with a smirk that Belle seems to dote on Tekka quite a lot. Hiding her smile behind her fan, she offers a sudden proposal. She suggests making Tekka her groom, claiming the two of them suit each other well. Belle stares back in shock at the shameless suggestion. She inwardly fumes at how Tekka's parents treat their own son like a mere pawn. Prince Riley finds their behavior unbelievable, but Belle asks him to let her handle them. She thanks him and explains that losing her temper would only play into their hands. Riley nods in quiet understanding of her plan. Still, she insists that their words about Tekka cannot go uncorrected. Turning back to the couple, Belle firmly states that Tekka is a truly wonderful person. She stresses that his fine character matches his appearance. While his mother dismissively agrees, Belle presses whether they are truly aware of his worth as his parents. The couple begins to look unsettled by her tone. She points out that living apart from Tekka has left them ignorant of who he really is. She directly calls them out for acting like they know him when they do not. Her glare turns sharp as she demands that they stop doing so immediately. The parents stand speechlessly confronted by her unwavering stance. Pressing them further, Belle asks if they have forgotten who her fiancé is, leaving them stunned. The noble couple glares back at her with tense, unyielding expressions. Tekka's mother notes that Belle seems remarkably confident for a mere candidate. Belle responds that Crown Prince Riley chose her himself and requests that they acknowledge it. The arrogant couple hastily turns to leave with their family. Tekka's father abruptly excuses them as they make a quick exit. Riley notes that they left without apologizing and praises Belle for her splendid performance. Belle admits she found it refreshing, though she disliked hearing them speak ill of Lord Tekka. She adds that it felt as though they were implying she was unworthy of Prince Riley. She understands why others might look at her that way given her background. However, Belle resolves to work hard so she can stand beside Riley without shame. She gazes forward with quiet determination. Meanwhile, Fail hurries down a quiet palace corridor in distress. Fail leans against a door, catching his breath as his heart races violently. He mutters nervously that his situation is taking a turn for the worse. Fail worries that if he fails to control his intense emotions, he might transform into a beast again. He whispers Belle's name in deep longing. He reflects that he liked her long before Riley did, wondering if things would be different had he confessed first. Realizing his attendants will soon search for him, Fail decides he must return. Suddenly, he pauses in surprise as he notices someone in the hallway. He spots Belle waiting alone near the grand doors. Fail approaches Belle and asks why she is by herself. Belle explains that Prince Riley was called away by state guests, so she is waiting for him. Fail listens intently, taking in her gentle presence. Taking advantage of the quiet moment, Phil suggests taking a moment to talk together. Belle agrees, though a faint hesitation lingers in her eyes. She asks him not to bring up troublesome topics, but he playfully feigns ignorance. When she calls out his act, Fail laughs and tells her not to pout. Phil reveals he investigated her situation and asks if her father kept them apart. He explains that his attempts to visit her after graduation were constantly turned down. Belle replies firmly that the man is no longer her father. Hearing this, Fail expresses relief and notes that she seems truly happy now. Belle recalls how friendly Fail was back in their student days. She mentioned sensing a subtle shadow around him at that time. That intriguing mystery had prompted her to tease him back then. Fail suddenly confesses his feelings, revealing he has loved Belle since their academy days. Stunned by his confession, Belle asks if he is truly being serious. She admits she never noticed his feelings, assuming they were strictly friends. Although she points out he never gave any hint, Fail reassures her of his sincerity. Overwhelmed, Belle explains that she does not know how to process his sudden confession. She reminds him that she is already a candidate for Crown Princess. Fail bluntly dismisses her point with a dismissive question. He asks why her engagement should prevent him from declaring his genuine feelings. Belle hesitates, struggling to put her thoughts into clear words. She emphasizes that she wants to avoid causing any trouble for Prince Riley. Fail reacts with irritation at hearing her mention the prince once again. He accuses her of hiding behind Prince Riley as a shield, leaving her completely silent. Softening his tone, Fail prompts her to share her true feelings with him. He leans in closer, asking if she likes him. Belle hesitates, admitting that she cares for him as a dear friend while struggling to find the words he wants to hear. Belle apologizes sincerely and confesses that her heart belongs entirely to Prince Riley. Fail takes in her words in quiet acceptance as silence falls between them. He lets out a soft, bittersweet laugh to ease the tension. He murmurs softly that he already anticipated her answer all along. Belle stammers in response just as a voice calls out to her from nearby. Fail urges her to answer the call and head back inside. Belle notices the sorrow lingering on his face for the very first time. She quietly registers his hidden pain. She realizes how much courage his confession required. She apologizes once more for being unable to return his romantic feelings. She reaches out gently to squeeze his hand before departing. Belle reassures Fail that his earnest affection truly reached her heart. She offers him a warm, bright smile of gratitude. She turns around and walks away to rejoin the others. Fail watches her leave with a soft, lingering gaze. He sighs heavily and softly admits to himself that he was rejected. Back in her quarters, Sonia asks Belle how she enjoyed the evening banquet. Relaxing in the bath, Belle admits that the foreign gathering left her thoroughly exhausted. Sonia shares that it is her first time abroad as well. She mentions how glad she is to accompany Belle on this trip. Belle listens intently and offers a gentle nod. Suddenly, Tekka asks if Belle will be staying with Sonia after this. Sonia turns around, bewildered by the unexpected question. She points out that Belle is supposed to share a bedroom with Prince Riley. Tekka freezes in absolute shock as the realization hits. Tekka panics upon hearing the sudden room arrangement. He protests that nobody informed him about this plan beforehand. He clings frantically, begging to remain by Sonia's side tonight. Belle urges Tekka to leave Sonia alone so she can spend the night with Prince Riley. Tekka wails in despair from afar, calling Sonia utterly heartless. Maria stands hesitantly in the grand hallway outside the bedroom door. She blushes intensely as she realizes she will be sleeping together with Riley tonight. She insists that she is living happily now and just wants to be left alone. Someone reminds Maria that she is sharing a bedroom with Crown Prince Riley. Maria defensively responds that she simply decided to be more proactive recently. They haven't been alone since talking at the palace, making tonight feel overwhelmingly sudden. Still, she realizes that there is no better opportunity than the present. Maria pumps herself up, deciding that tonight is the right time to express her love. Suddenly, the door clicks open, startling Maria as Riley enters the room. She turns around nervously to find Riley standing quietly right behind her. Riley notices her startled reaction and asks what she is doing. Flustered, Maria stammers and quickly insists that it is absolutely nothing. Riley casually admits she caught him off guard while Maria tries to calm her racing heart. She tries to convince herself that sharing a room means nothing improper will happen. Riley casually tells her that she is completely overthinking the whole situation. Maria glares over nervously as she looks toward the rest of the room. She freezes in total shock upon realizing there is only one single bed. Seeing her freeze, Riley asks why she stopped so abruptly, prompting her to nervously stammer that nothing is wrong. He smiles softly and tells her not to worry, reassuring her that he will treat her with respect. Though she trusts him implicitly, sharing such an intimate space still sends her heart racing. She retreats a step back, unable to hide her flustered expression. Riley closes the distance between them, looking straight into her eyes. He leans in close and teasingly notes how hyper-aware she is of his presence. He admits that her visible reaction makes him want to tease her even more. Maria stays completely silent, her face turning bright red under his gaze. She flusteredly protests, telling him to stop and insisting that a crown prince shouldn't act like this. Riley playfully jokes that being the crown prince might be the exact reason he can get away with it. His bold response leaves Maria completely stunned and wide-eyed. He chuckles at her dramatic reaction while she timidly asks if he was truly just teasing her. Deciding to wrap up the teasing, Riley points out that tomorrow starts early and suggests going to sleep. He settles into bed and softly wishes her a good night. Lying beneath her covers, Maria realizes this quiet moment is her best chance to talk to him. She clutches her blanket nervously, unsure of how to begin her confession. She glances over towards his bed in the dim room. Maria speaks up gently, telling Riley he must be exhausted and apologizing for keeping him awake. She stops herself, determined not to back down from her goal. She reminds herself that she cannot keep hesitating forever, recalling how clearly she expressed her feelings to Figo gives her the push she needs. Mustering all her courage, she resolves to finally share her heart. She calls out to Crown Prince Riley, causing him to look back at her in curiosity. When he asks what is on her mind, Maria gazes at him earnestly and asks what he truly thinks of her. Having blurted out the question, she panics and begs him to say something in response. She quickly apologizes for bringing up her feelings so out of nowhere. As she stammers, he asks if Figo said something to her, leaving her utterly speechless. Riley calls himself pathetic for making Belle speak up first. Maria hastily insists that is not true. She stammers as she tries to explain herself. She struggles to find the right words. Riley recalls overhearing Figo talking to her at the palace. Maria listens closely with wide eyes as he opens up. He admits feeling frustrated that he had not confessed first. Even after Figo did, he held back his own words. He resolved to express his true feelings to her eventually. Riley explains that he felt influenced by Figo and overthought things until he missed his chance. He apologizes to her for making her feel so anxious. Taking her hand softly in his, he hesitates before speaking again. Looking into her eyes, Riley confesses that he has loved her from the very moment they met. He clearly speaks the words of love she has longed to hear. Maria gazes back at him with tears welling in her shining eyes. Overwhelmed with joy, Maria calls out Relee's name. With a radiant smile, she tearfully declares that she loves him too. The prince gazes back at her with a gentle, affectionate expression. He lets out a soft, relieved sigh. He then admits he wanted to confess under better circumstances, chuckling that he always manages to make things awkward. Maria gently tells him not to worry about that. She expresses her genuine happiness at hearing Prince Riley's true feelings. She adds that he is always so cool, making Riley quietly nod in understanding. Maria feels deeply relieved that she was finally able to be honest with him as well. Riley then leans in closer and mentions that there is something he wants to ask her. He asks if she was talking with Figo earlier and wants to know what they discussed. Maria gasps in shock at his unexpected question. She demands to know how he could possibly know about her conversation. Riley calmly replies that Sonia was the one who told him. Hesitantly, Maria reveals that Figo confessed his feelings to her once again. Riley turns away with a sharp, guarded look. Maria quickly clarifies that she rejected him because her heart belongs strictly to Crown Prince Riley. She reassures him that her choice is absolute. Riley mutters in annoyance that Figo truly never misses a chance. Riley asks Maria to inform him the next time Figo approaches her. He wants to warn him personally to keep his distance. His serious gaze leaves no doubt about his intent. Maria smiles and asks him not to be too strict since they are friends. Riley narrows his eyes and asks her why. Startled as Riley suddenly closes the distance, Maria gasps when he playfully accuses her of wanting to see Figo again. She blushes as he teases her about her fond memories. Flustered, she loudly protests that she never said any such thing. Leaning in swift and soft, Riley plants a surprise kiss on Maria's cheek. Maria freezes instantly as a deep blush covers her face. Riley offers a warm smile and apologizes, admitting he was only teasing. Maria turns away in bashful embarrassment, pouting with heart racing. Deciding to settle down for the night, Riley suggests that they both go to sleep now. Maria stammeringly agrees while looking up into his soft eyes. She quietly speaks his title as the quiet sets in. Reflecting inwardly, Maria marvels at how much her world has transformed since meeting him. Looking at Crown Prince Riley with pure devotion, she knows that she is happier now than ever before. Outside, rain pours steadily over the quiet mountain city streets the following morning. Riley notes that they are scheduled to visit Tekka's family home today regardless of the storm. Maria wonders aloud if their carriage can safely navigate the mountain passes in such poor weather. He answers that it depends on the driver's skill, while she nods thoughtfully. An attendant interrupts them early to ask if anyone has seen Figo. Maria looks on in utter confusion. Riley asks if something is wrong with the missing body double. The attendant reveals that Figo is nowhere to be found in his room. He apologizes for his bluntness before speaking further. He fears Figo might have secretly gone off to meet Maria Belle. Riley points out that Figo spent the entire previous day alongside the Crown Prince. Suddenly, an off-panel voice calls out to grab their attention. Riley acknowledges the worry over the missing second prince. However, he firmly states that doubting his bride candidate crosses the line. The attendant stammers back in alarm. The attendant quickly apologizes as Riley sternly warns him there will be no second forgiveness. The attendant bows gratefully to Crown Prince Riley for showing mercy. He reflects on how detection magic had been deployed earlier. Riley inwardly questions why anyone would still harbor doubts about her. Maria Belle remains deeply uneasy despite the matter being settled. She stresses that a missing second prince is a major political incident. She asks Riley if he is truly worried about the situation. Riley insists that they should leave the investigation entirely to the She's kingdom. He explains that interference from foreign nations would only complicate matters. Maria listens in anxious silence. She murmurs Figo's name softly under her breath. She prays earnest wishes that no tragedy has befallen him. Elsewhere, a leather bag swings dramatically high in the air. A woman worries that the captive creature looks vicious, but her companion tells her not to worry. He assures her that he can instantly put it to sleep with magic if it acts out. He adds with a sinister grin that Crown Prince Riley loves animals. He insists that offering a rare creature as a gift will surely delight the prince. She points out that valuable animals are never allowed to roam around freely. She reminds him that this creature was captured right on the castle grounds. She questions whether taking it without permission is truly acceptable. The man shrugs off her concern, believing no one will notice a single missing animal. Two scheming figures exchange mischievous grins as they prepare their next move. Inside the cage, the creature snarls viciously as its captors eagerly anticipate what will happen next. Vale finds himself trapped in his raccoon form near the castle grounds. Panicking in his creature form, he desperately needs to return to the castle immediately. He bitterly regrets ever stepping foot outside after things turned out so terribly. Vale admits that Belle's rejection left him so restless he could not sleep at all. Unable to clear his mind in his bedroom, he went out for a nighttime walk alone. He didn't bother informing any of his aides before stepping out. Unfortunately, Tekka's parents spotted him while he was wandering outside. Belle and Prince Riley examine a magical glowing diagram together in high spirits. With their preparations complete, the group sets out their plan into motion. Prince Riley states that they are now heading straight to Tekka's parents' house. He asks if everyone understands their given assignment for the mission. Belle chirps enthusiastically in her cat form to show her complete readiness. Sonia assures him that it is their usual routine and they will handle everything smoothly. When Riley asks if he should keep holding feline Belle, she eagerly agrees. Figo nervously complains about his anxiety while Sonia points out how unusual that is for him. Figo confesses that he hasn't acted as a body double recently. He worries about whether he can pull off the role successfully. Sonia acknowledges that his concern is quite understandable. Belle meows cheerfully to offer her heartfelt encouragement to Figo. Tekka notes that Belle is telling him not to worry at all. He assures Figo that everything will surely turn out completely fine. Tekka adds a teasing qualification as Belle meows once more in agreement. Tekka explains that his parents talk constantly but leave plenty of vulnerabilities. He believes hitting them where it hurts will instantly silence their pushy demands. He then asks Prince Riley if he remembers meeting them at the party. Prince Riley admits he was caught off guard when they approached to greet him. Belle remembers how overly forceful Tekka's parents acted toward everyone. She meows softly while thinking back to their harsh behavior. Riley firmly states that he won't tolerate anyone looking down on Tekka. Riley notes that Belle stood up for Tekka before but now places his trust in Figo. Figo resolutely agrees to carry out his crucial task as the prince's body double. One of their companions reminds Riley to address Belle as Marie while she remains in her cat form. He then turns his attention toward the small feline with a curious look. Riley reminds himself to stay vigilant in his child disguise, while the knight asks if Marie has grown a winter coat and leans in closer to see if she looks fluffier than usual. The prince enthusiastically agrees that her fur looks remarkably fluffy. Excitedly, the knight begs for permission to pet her once their assignment is finished. Prince Riley dismisses his request and tells him to ask Maria Belle directly. Marie lets out a loud meow in response. At Tekka's family residence, Tekka's father warmly welcomes the group inside. Tekka's mother notices her son returning home with a young child. She immediately asks who the young boy standing beside him is. Excited to see him, she mentions having so many things to do. Tekka introduces the disguised Prince Riley as a friend he met at the palace. His mother allows the boy inside as long as he stays out of the way. Tekka casually adds that he dragged his companion along while the prince remains silent. The young prince glares quietly while observing Tekka's parents. Tekka's father gets straight to the point and asks if the guests received Tekka's message. A noble guest confirms that he heard about their plan to introduce their daughter. The conversation begins as everyone gathers inside the reception room. Tekka's mother expresses her relief that the message arrived accurately. She explains that Tekka is currently going through a rebellious phase. Because of that, she worried he might have twisted the facts. Observing their harsh words, Prince Riley confronts the parents and asks why they constantly speak ill of Tekka. Tekka's parents react with slight surprise at the young child's blunt question. Tekka's father quickly dismisses the complaint by claiming they are only telling the truth. Prince Riley grows annoyed that the discussion is going nowhere. He firmly demands that they get straight to the real point. Tekka's father explains that their daughter is currently away, but they will personally present all her fine qualities. Prince Riley finds their arrogant behavior completely selfish and irritating. Tekka's mother whispers nervously that the atmosphere in the room has grown cold. Her husband replies low that something isn't right without their daughter present. She suggests offering a gift, but he insists the timing is wrong. Losing his patience, Prince Riley demands to know what they are whispering about and threatens to leave. He glares sternly at the parents while preparing to walk away. Panicking, Tekka's parents shout for him to stay. The mother desperately pulls out a portrait of their daughter to show him. They insist that the real presentation is just beginning. Unimpressed, Prince Riley bluntly states that he is completely uninterested and turns to head home. Suddenly, a cheerful voice echoes from the hallway announcing someone's return. Prince Riley pauses in surprise while Tekka's father desperately tries to hold him back. A young man enters the doorway and notices that guests have arrived. The newly arrived noble siblings stand at the entrance looking at the visitors. Tekka introduces the newcomers as his older brother and sister. Marie gasps in shock at the sudden arrival. She realizes the situation is entirely different from what she had expected. Tekka's sister angrily scolds her brother for referring to Prince Riley so casually. The older brother looks around in confusion and asks who she is speaking to. The room falls into chaotic confusion. Amidst the commotion, Drillby questions why the visitor speaks so casually to someone of importance, leaving her daughter stammering while another noble looks on for clarification. Figo points out that the parents failed to inform their children, something the other noble finds hard to believe. Watching from nearby in her cat form, Belle senses that Sonia is growing increasingly furious. The parents ask about their daughter's whereabouts just as she steps back into the room. The daughter quickly denies having gone anywhere outside. The mother tries to claim they were merely out for daily training. However, her daughter immediately calls out her lie. A bystander watches the exchange in complete confusion. Sonia demands to know what she means by that excuse. Mr. Drillby notices how quickly the lively pair shrinks away in fear. He stammers that he must have been mistaken about the situation. Tekka observes them, remembering how cruel they were to him earlier. Tekka stands quietly while his parents shrink back in awkward silence. Belle feels a bit sick watching the family awkwardness play out. Meanwhile, Tekka's parents greet him and urge him to write before returning next time. His mother adds a warm welcome back. Tekka casually acknowledges his return, adding that he will head back to the palace after their discussion. His relative playfully complains that she wanted to spar with magic like before. Tekka declines since he always gets hurt, leading Belle to find the idea rather boring. Mr. Drillby asks what discussion they are referring to. Another noble begins to explain, but Figo steps in politely to take over. He asks for permission to explain the matter himself. Figo reveals that the parents intended to introduce their daughter to the royal guest. The daughter stammers in utter confusion, declaring that she knew nothing about such a plan. Mr. Drillby asks if they meant to marry his sister off to the prince. Figo confirms this but firmly declines because he already has a candidate for crown princess. Mr. Drillby protests loudly, calling it rude to refuse before even holding a proper discussion. Mr. Drillb argues that Lady Maria Belle is far too forward for such a role. He insists a royal candidate ought to prioritize his highness above all else. He claims this was already obvious back at the party. Figo dismisses his complaint as a very old-fashioned way of thinking. Figo asserts that he alone decides who becomes crown princess and questions the noble's nerve in telling him what to do. Figo demands that he stop speaking ill of Maria Belle, warning that such disrespect would lose him his status back home. The parents stand frozen in stunned silence after the sharp reprimand. The father gasps in shock as the room falls quiet. Watching from the floor, Belle in cat form is deeply impressed by Figo's firm stance. The couple remains completely silent under his glare. An onlooker notes that Prince Reze does not seem to mind the stern reprimand either. As silence hangs over the room, the family gathering grows even tenser under everyone's concerned glances. The young woman suddenly dismisses the entire discussion, complaining about the complicated marriage topics and declaring bluntly that she has no interest in marrying anyone. Her sudden outburst leaves everyone present completely stunned. She teases them by asking what they are even saying. Her relative shouts back at her to shut up about that. She calmly points out that marriage could actually benefit her future. The mother can only murmur in utter helplessness. Figo silently wonders why the parents cannot stand up to their own daughter. Tekka explains that his parents are terrified of his hot-tempered older siblings. He recalls how hard it used to be to calm them down once they got angry. Because of that, he can understand why his parents feel so overwhelmed. Figo suggests that since the girl has no interest in marriage, they should leave it at that. The father desperately begs him to wait before ending the discussion. He insists that their daughter is just shy and constantly tells lies. He desperately adds that they have not even had a deep conversation with her yet. Overwhelmed by their endless pleading, Figo excuses himself to go fetch some tea. Observing from the side, Belle in cat form notes how much trouble Figo is having. She wonders to herself how long this ridiculous farce will drag on. With a quiet meow, she keeps watching the chaotic scene unfold. Suddenly, a strange sound catches her attention. Belle senses a troubled voice that sounds like an animal crying out. She realizes it is a creature's distant plea for help. She gets the strange feeling that she has heard this voice somewhere before. Tekka apologizes to everyone for interrupting during such a tense moment. He explains that he feels compelled to follow the distress call right away. Surprised by his sudden move, Figo calls out after him in confusion. Tekka immediately rushes out after the feline Belle. The two hurry through the corridors together. Tekka calls out to Belle and tells her to wait up as she sprints ahead. Belle meows urgently and urges Tekka to follow her lead without stopping. She tracks the scent as it grows stronger, knowing their destination is nearby. Belle stops in front of a grand door and confirms the source is inside. Tekka hesitates for a second as he catches up to her. Tekka notices the unfamiliar room and wonders if someone unlocked it from inside. He marvels that such a hidden place exists right before gasping in shock. His eyes widen in complete disbelief at what lies beyond the doorway. Both Tekka and Belle stand frozen as they gaze into the secret chamber. Inside the hidden room, Riley wonders if the creature trapped in the cage could actually be Fail. Nearby in her cat form, Belle frantically calls out to him as the beast lets out a roar. Riley observes that the poor creature is covered in wounds, while Belle worries how he ended up trapped there as the beast continues its distressed cries. Tekka asks if they happen to know anything about this animal. He apologizes, explaining that his parents likely brought the beast here by force. Belle reassures Tekka that he does not need to apologize at all. Tekka suggests that it would be best to consult Crown Prince Riley about the situation. Belle mows in agreement while looking at the confined creature. She knows they must figure out what to do immediately. They look down at the locked iron cage holding the injured creature inside. Belle reflects on how cruel it is for anyone to keep an animal locked away like this. Riley attempts to unlock the cage, but the key refuses to turn. He calls out gently to check on the welfare of the creature inside. The beast cries out while Belle repeatedly insists to Riley that this creature's is Fail. Riley notes that he has never seen a beast of this kind before. He wonders if it would be better to release it back outside. Tekka agrees that releasing it might be the right choice. The locked beast lets out another sharp roar from inside its enclosure. Riley pauses in quiet contemplation as he studies the creature. Belle urgently mows to signal that releasing it outside is the wrong idea. Riley notices how unusually desperate Belle is acting over this animal. He begins to suspect there might be something special about the beast. Tekka warns Riley to remain cautious as Riley nods in agreement. Riley suddenly catches a subtle sensation nearby. He senses a faint lingering trace of magic surrounding the beast. Belle meows imploringly, pleading with Riley to realize the truth. Looking closely at the magic, Riley begins to connect the clues about the beast's true identity. Crown Prince Riley detects a faint trace of magic emanating from the caged creature. He connects the strange presence with Maria Belle's desperate behavior. He suddenly realizes who the beast might truly be. Meanwhile, Maria Belle in her cat form cuddles lovingly against Prince Riley. Figo, acting as the prince, steps forward and questions why the creature is so battered. Prince Riley observes the cage intently as the beast trembles in fear. Mr. Drillb demands an explanation for the young animal's poor physical state. Mrs. Drillb nervously claims they only acquired the beast to please Prince Riley. Her husband hastily adds that its injuries are merely temporary. She insists their only goal was to make the prince happy. Prince Riley quietly asks Figo for a private moment. Figo wonders what the young prince needs. Prince Riley instructs him to take the animal back immediately. Figo reacts in complete surprise to the sudden command. Prince Riley explains in a whisper that revealing the creature as Prince Fail would cause serious trouble. Figo agrees while Belle wonders what the two of them are discussing. Belle realizes Prince Riley might have figured out the beast's true identity. Mr. Drillby mutters under his breath that the child is pathetic for whispering like that. His wife snidely remarks that he could have just asked for the animal directly. She criticizes him for being sneaky and begging the prince. Belle bristles at their terrible behavior from her spot on the ground. She fumes that they take advantage of Figo's silence to speak ill of others. Their endless trash talk makes her furious. Prince Riley politely apologizes for the interruption and announces he has a few questions. He asks the couple how they managed to obtain such a rare animal. Mr. Drillby claims that a noble acquaintance imported it for them from a foreign land. Prince Riley demands to know the person's identity immediately. He points out that transporting foreign animals is strictly illegal. Mr. Drillby stammers helplessly as he gets caught in his lie. Figo and the rest of the party glare sternly at the panicking couple. Prince Riley warns them not to lie, declaring his utter disgust for anyone who mistreats animals. Terrified, the couple apologizes and confesses that they actually captured the creature at the castle. She bows deeply, pleading for forgiveness and offering to return the caged beast themselves. However, the Crown Prince instantly shuts down her offer with a cold refusal. He firmly declares that he will take full responsibility and return the creature himself. As Tekka holds the cage, the prince quietly hopes that this troublesome matter is finally settled. He steps forward carrying the birdcage containing the small creature. Looking down at the caged beast, his sharp eyes narrow with silent suspicion. Realizing the prince has seen through everything, he smiles faintly while Belle meows softly at his side. Announcing that they have no further business there, the Crown Prince turns around to leave immediately. He disregards Mrs. Drillby as she frantically begs him to wait. Her desperate calls fill his pace. Meanwhile, Mr. Drillby wonders aloud where the children vanished to. He recalls that they were following close behind just moments ago. Ultimately, he sighs and accepts that nothing more can be done. Mrs. Drillby insists that they go look for them right away. Stepping outside into the courtyard, the Crown Prince urges the group to return while they still have the chance, and Tekka agrees. Heavy raindrops fall onto the stone pathway outside the grand estate. The royal carriage stands waiting in the downpour to take them away. Looking back at Belle in her cat form, Mr. Drillby expresses his relief that she is safe. Tekka voices his own relief that the creature is unharmed, lamenting how awful his parents acted. Belle meows gently, reassuring Tekka that he did nothing wrong. Tekka looks down with sad, conflicted eyes as her comforting words reach him. Belle watches him with deep empathy, wishing she could do more to ease his distress. Mr. Drillb turns his attention toward the cat with a gentle expression. Suddenly, Mrs. Drillb calls out to Tekka, catching Belle off guard. Belle glances back in surprise as the mood shifts. Approaching her son, Mrs. Drillb reminds Tekka that they are family, and her husband hesitatingly agrees. She quickly stops Tekka in his tracks by asking where he thinks he is going. She then demands to know if he will actually listen to what they have to say. She urges Tekka to speak to the Crown Prince on behalf of his sister, hoping it will earn them another audience. Belle watches nervously while Tekka stands frozen in uncomfortable silence. He lowers his gaze in shame, weighed down by his parents' selfish expectations. Sonia asks Tekka what his parents are telling him, but the Crown Prince notes it is likely nothing good. He remarks that it would be rude for them to interfere in a private family matter. Furthermore, he points out that keeping distance is best, so Fail does not go wild again. With that warning, he prepares to depart from the estate. Tekka's parents persist, urging him to listen and promising to acknowledge him if he simply obeys. Refusing to be manipulated, the youth sharply recoils and commands them not to touch him. His father gasps in complete astonishment at the sudden outburst. Tekka confronts them directly, asking why they are suddenly acting like a loving family. He reminds them that they have done nothing but bully him, questioning why they suddenly claim to care. He adds bitterly that they never treated him as their child, viewing him only as a convenient tool to use. Both of his parents immediately object, accusing him of lying about their intentions. Unmoved by their denial, Tekka shouts that he is completely done believing anything they say. He recalls how hard he tried to please his siblings, only to end up exploited by everyone around him. Overwhelmed by emotion, Tekka declares that he is sick and tired of all their mistreatment. With a fierce glare, Tekka strictly forbids them from ever calling his name again. His parents stand frozen in place, speechless from his harsh rejection. Meanwhile, the surrounding companions look on in quiet support. Marie watches attentively from the floor as Tekka turns away. Deciding he has said enough, Tekka calls for Marie as he prepares to leave. He takes a quiet step toward the prince and his allies. Tekka hesitates nervously before addressing the group. He apologizes to Prince Riley for losing control and shouting. Prince Riley gently interrupts, assuring him that no one minds his outburst. Prince Riley praises Tekka, reassuring him that he expressed his true feelings exceptionally well. Tekka feels a sense of relief as Prince Riley offers a warm gesture of comfort. Seeing this, Sonia cries out in emotional relief to the Crown Prince. She wipes away her tears as the others look on. She chuckles happily, relieved that Tekka found the courage to speak up, while Belle meows in agreement nearby in her cat form. Belle cocks her head as she notices something curious. Riley observes Prince Phil resting soundly in his arms. He remarks that the beast remains asleep despite all the surrounding noise. He concludes that Phil must be utterly exhausted from his ordeal. Belle leans in closer to inspect the sleeping creature. Belle tilts her head with a curious meow. Riley quickly warns her not to get too close to the wild beast. Sonia instantly apologizes for letting her approach. As they prepare to leave, Rayleigh turns to address Tekka directly. He asks if Tekka is truly willing to perform memory-erasing magic on his family. He reminds him that this means severing all ties with his parents. Tekka firmly reassures him that he has no regrets. He explains that he has already completely sorted out his feelings. He acknowledges that he will likely not see his family again for a long time. With a calm resolve, he bids a quiet farewell to his past. Riley turns his attention back to their journey and asks if the castle is their next destination. He confirms that they must return the sleeping creature and begins to ponder something important. He recalls that this creature looks identical to a beast he once spotted at the palace. He admits he cannot be completely sure since he has not seen it since that day. He stops mid-thought as another realization hits him. He wonders if this mystery explains why Belle was acting so desperately earlier. He glances back thoughtfully at Belle in her cat form. Sonia praises Tekka for his brave efforts throughout the ordeal. Belle meows approvingly right beside her. Riley looks ahead and announces that they are almost at their destination. Their carriage travels swiftly down the road towards the castle. Sonia notices how intensely focused Lord Riley seems as they travel. The carriage suddenly comes to a stop along the path. Tekka looks around in total confusion as the carriage stops early. He points out that they have not yet reached the royal palace. Riley steps out and instructs everyone to wait safely inside the carriage. He tells them to take good care of Belle while he handles things. Tekka and Sonia exchange bewildered glances as Riley walks away alone. Belle watches him depart with quiet curiosity. Belle wonders in her heart what Lord Riley is planning. Riley carries Prince Phil deep into the quiet surrounding forest. He stops in a secluded spot and decides that this is far enough. He gently lowers the sleeping beast onto the grass. Looking down at the creature, he asks if it is actually Prince Phil. Branches rustle softly in the quiet woods around them. He apologizes for borrowing his clothes, urging the creature to transform back if it truly is him, but the small beast remains completely silent. The creature turns around and quietly crawls away into the grass. Prince Riley admits he had his suspicions, confirming his identity as Prince Phil. A heavy silence follows as the truth sinks in. The creature disappears further into the surrounding bushes. Prince Riley in his child form steps forward, apologizing for keeping Prince Phil waiting. Phil emerges in human form, wearing the light clothes provided for him. Phil thanks him sincerely, adding that he might have died without his rescue. Prince Riley casually tells him not to worry about it. Prince Riley explains that he wanted to speak with Phil as an equal. Prince Riley asks Phil to promise not to tell anyone about what is about to happen. Phil stammers in surprise, completely caught off guard by the request. Phil stares wide-eyed as a sudden glow begins to surround the young boy. The light envelops Prince Riley as his form begins to shift dramatically. Phil gasps in utter shock, recognizing Crown Prince Riley in his true adult form right before his eyes. The two princes stand face to face, tense and silent in the sudden revelation.